The candle will be quenched if the wind will run on the candle, but the fire will move on to the fire eye. The wind makes the fire more strong. Just like randomness, uncertainty, cows, it's not all things to hide from us. We must face them. These should be a veil, become a fire of us. The candle should not be winded so that we can be and strong. I believe that there is no hidden fear of randomness and uncertainty, but to use them. It is not only possible to live in an uncertainty that can only be avoided hardly. Don't just live in an uncertainty, but the victory over it is water. As some of the Roman strikes were not defeated, they had won their own in the last. The mission is to make things that don't look in front of us make us our own, overcome or win them. Hell, some things benefit from shocks, randomness, stress, and grow like that. I've called antifragile. Fragile things break into the stress, but antifragile things tend to become more strong in the stress. Riley just beam stays on antifungal and gets better. This property, nature, evolution, idea, culture, cities, legal systems, human body, bacteria, innovation looks in everything living. But things like that do not look like in a stapler. Antifragile likes randomness, uncertainty, mistakes, risk. Because of this, we can handle unknown things in the right way. I believe it's much better to become dumb and antifragile, to become smart and fresh. A lot of things around us from stress, randomness strengths are diseases such as body, mind, economy, nutrition, financial contracts, diabetes also come from low reflexes. We can take better dissipation in uncertain issues of understanding the antifragile without redirecting everything. It is easy to identify fridge. It is difficult to predict the Rick Black Swan problem is also relayed from the same. Can't predict the character events, but how much harm can he see? We must change our risk management methods. Test is also simple. Everything take advantage in randomness is the antifragile. The damage that he suffers is fragile. If the randomness stress removed from the antifragile system, it will weaken or eliminate. In the modern world, we have made economy, health, education by overprotecting everyone. As long as the beds stay on the beds weakens the muscles. Similarly, systems of stress removal are eliminated. Systems have become fragile from top-down control, but the bottom approach, tinkering, grow into the innovation randomness. The biggest problem of the society is skin don't have these games. Some people take advantage of themselves from randomness but risks put on others. The same happened in the financial crisis of 2008. The first who took the risk was called the leader or hero. But now bureaucrats, bankers, powerful academics are all control for themselves risk and harm common people. To date, there was no personal risk on those who have no control over them. The biggest ethical thing that your antifragility should not be on the cost of fragility of others. I want to live in a world that I do not understand. Black swiss are the big odd events that are absolutely unaccepted for any man. And when it happens, that man suffers. Most of the history is formed from such a black SN event. But we're looking to understand the little things and miss the big things. The models that we create and think cannot track the black SN. After being a black SN, we think we had already snatched it as we later understood everything goes. But it really does not happen. Our minds make the history simple, so we underestimate the randomness. We are afraid of or overreact when randomness is seen in reality. In the dizziness of this fear and order appetite, we create systems that damage the black sign. No benefit. Don't get real order when you find an order. If we understand randomness, then you will get some control. Complex systems have a lot of functions that are not visible. Nonlinear means doubled two things doesn't double the result. More or less. The simple cause-effect does not work here. The man-made complex systems are becoming more unpredictable and the black SN events have become more. Increasing technology, promptability is reducing. All of this we have created is the name of progress which is making actually black swan vulnerable. The worst part of the black swan problem is that we can't do the calculations of the rear events as much as possible event as unpredictable. Yet the cystists look more confident, but in reality they do not know anything. Nature is the best expert in handling black SN as it has antifragility. Nature has been adjusting and surveying itself without any Roman lead director. Antifragility is not just a solution for black SN, but we can also opt for black SN at the intellectual level. It's not enough to be a robust. Nature is not just safe, he is aggressive. He finishes the vaccine, makes new things. Time breaks everything that is a little weaker. That's why the perfect robustness should be, but it's not possible. So we need systems that can renovate ourselves repeatedly by using shocks, randomness, stress. That's the antifungal. Antifragile things benefit from the production error. So today the world has the same things that are strangled with randomness. We think the world runs from design, research funding, but actually running because of tinkers and risk takers. All those who have technology innovation have come from trial and error. Books writer academics did not create. We can majorize fricily not to risk. The estimate of the risk is never corrected, especially of rare events. Fragility and antifragility are a property of everything that we can see, offer, even measure. We can easily speak which thing is fragile, as the grandma is fragile over the temporal. No dictatorship is more fragile in political change. No bank is more fragile. There is more fragile in the crisis or in a modern building economy. We can also observe which things will go much. Talking on the risk is useless. Should pay attention to fragility. Aggregate of fragility is antifragility. There is a simple rule to majorize antifragility that works in every field, from health to society. We take advantage of antifragility in real life, but ignore the intellectual level. Fragilista is the man who wears most suit tie, works sitting on the desk, meetings attend and understands what is not visible or understood. He does not do the same. The meaning that a thing is unknown takes a non-assistant. Physicist always thinks that science can solve everything and regeneration can make sense of everything. But in fact, complex systems, nature, and lifelong the streets are not so simple. Fragility itself begins to make its own thinking manual by labeling science without real understanding. Mysterious complexes seem to be ignorant in the modern society because of the fragilista. Jinko Nish had spoken the Dionian. This is a kind of game with the advantage a little more appears but the damage is concealed and larger. The medical fistula does not allow the body to be nailed. More medications can lead to side effects. The policy blew up the physicista economy in a dizzy to recover again and again. Psychiatric fragilista inspires children by medicine. Financial physicista disassembles the banking system from the wrong model. Predictor physicista says to take unnecessary risk. Military and soccer mom type fragilista also distort the system. Politicians just speak of reliances or solidity, but not of anti-fragility. Real progress, growth, evolution, risk and fault are caused by people, not because of the policymakers. Complex system does not require compacted roles. The better the system is simple. Unexacted problems are enhanced by the complicated rules and new problems come after every intervention. Simplicity. Modern life has become difficult as some people save their jobs. Some complexes like to show. Complexity is not easy to get. Hard work should be done. Steve Jobs also said that it's most difficult to find simple thinking. There is a saying of billions. It is easy to understand, but it is difficult to write. Use the symbols of the thyroidists, but remembering that he is not perfect. Just work. If we understand these, they become deniers. The thinking of antifragility was not perfect, but very curved. One day I understood that the frigidity means what volatility, randomness, anesthetic, stress, error, hates disorder. As your home glass, TV, or china set. If there is a frizzy, it is just like peace, order, predictability. No shock, no earthwork, no rock or noise choice. And frizzy things do not like time as with time and problems come. The thing can be broken. Antifragility is the reverse of this definition. Things that love volatility, uncertainty, randomness, cows, stressors. It also likes time as time can benefit. Here is a strong connection from linearity. Whatever the response is non-linear, it will either be frizzy or according to antifragile randomness. The most strange thing is that this simple property that frizzy things heal the volatility. There has never been a serious discus in science or philosophy. My work was on the same. I saw what volatility likes or does not. It started from the financial market. Later I felt it works everywhere. Medicine, politics, food making, everywhere. This field consists of two types of people. One, academics that study future events. Books, write papers. The second, practitioners who do not predict but see how one reacts when it comes to volatility. Practitioners are more busy. He does not take time to write books. Difference of both is huge. It is very difficult to predicate a future, but it's easy to see that some things will break down from volatility or strength. Just the practitioners make this point out. The main point of fragility and antifragility is that any system, either from volatility the damage is taken, i.e. fractures, or benefits, i.e. antifragile. And it's not just the volatility, but also the disorder family members. Uncertainty, variability, incompetent knowledge, moons, cows, disorder, entropy, time, anon, randomness, turmoil, stressor, error, outcoming difference, and knowledge. This is all the same family. Anti-fragile systems grow from all these things. Fragile systems are eliminated from all these things. Time also works like volatility. As much as time as possible, the more uncertainty, more errors or new orchards. If one can handle a little harem and has a little anti-fragile, then with time he grows. As the experience grows, but frizzy things break down with time. This book for me is the main work of my life. I had the same main idea. take it to every level and brought it up. Combine both practical and theory by combining the practicer's thinking and the interest of randomness uncertainty. All my writings are different chapters of the same main idea. Insert corpus which randomness, uncertainty, disorders, and everything we do not understand. What are the hidden things in the world? It has 3 books and adds, and every book's chapter is linked to each other. Whether there is science, philosophy, business, psychology, literature, or my own story. The Black Swan and Antifragile are both connected. Antifragile is the main book. Black Swan supplement. Because Black Swan problem explains an antifragile solution. Black Swan and full by randomness show that events dominates in the world we do not understand what we understand. Antifragile assumes that now we do not understand that the world is unpredictable. But now, do practical work. How to use uncertainty and randomness to your favorites. Focus on practical solutions. I do what I write. The risk that I speak to others to take or not to take or save. If I got wrong, first of all the losses will happen to me. I myself from bank collab as I had one on bank's facility and the black span beating. Writing sounds unethical. This rule is in every field for me. Medicine, technology, life in all. I believe that the experience of myself shows real truth as data can be shown in the study. The story can be created. The personal experience is direct. I think the topic is not for me if you have to read from the library to write a topic pay. I can't write that if I don't read already for my curiosity or need. Meaning the idea should be the same from the inside to the time. Just the same or real. Professionals should write what came from reality and not just from library research. Belief is the real man in his life, not showing real risk. In today's world, ethics has been replaced and the law can easily gain. So I force myself and others to explode this system whenever you see a fraud. You are your own fraud. If someone is working badly and you are silent, you are also involved in the same. Private, in some more speaking, public it is a fate to write something and the society's values come from the same. So I'll also speak in the public whenever I have to speak fraud or dangerous. Compromises mean supporting bad work. My role is that I can judge the world without fear. It's not just the no obligation. The second point, I apply the same scientific process on my own which can be applied to others. I prefer to put the claims of medicine or science into a fact-check peer review. Things with logical or paths can be stacked automatically. They do not need different proofs. So, technical footnotes publish at academic places. The rest I do not publish anything so that the real Onston remain. Don't become a career race. I've been a 20-year trader and businessman. Life is awkward when I went to academia. Commerce has fun, energy, naturalness. But academics have gels, small thinking, gazes, and lone lines. Academic people do not trust each other. Just run behind the recognition and credit. Relationships are clean in business show up in academics on. Rivalry and insecurity get more. I think small businesses, markets bring real tolerance, anxiety, and love. Not from lectures or reasoning. Here the mistakes are small and quickly forget. I am happy that I am human and I like a place where people love their luck. Academia did not find this feeling but found in commerce and studies alone. Business and markets can make human beings tolerant, loving, and nuanced. The Antifragile book is divided into 7 separate books and a notes section. These books so slogan because every part is deep on different topics. Sometimes all on evolution, sometimes politics, business, science, ethics, knowledge, philosophy are connected to the same central idea. These parts give a feel like and not as textbook. I've mixed personal experiences, story and parable with science and theory. I wrote probability and risk experience of my business life with my own stories. So thinking and writing is different. Autography is as touch. This book is the best form of personal ace to understand the uncertainty maybe. The Antifragile in the book Forest describes this new property and shows that they and the living things are the best exams of the antifragile system. Here is also how collective can be antifragile, while the individual is frizzy. Book 2 Modernity and the Denial of Antifungal. Here's what happens when the systems like political systems are kept away from volatility, the concept of the nation-state and the healer that harms the dizziness of the heel. It's all discussed. Book 3 Non-Inductive View of the World. Here is the character of the name Fat Tony that introduces the frigidity from its experience. The concept of the symmetry from the writing of Seneca is described. Book 4 Optionality Technology and the Intelligence of Antifragilities. It shows a strange property of the world in which the tabler of the asymmetry is rolled and tells how the apority brought us today. Here is the organization of the Soviet Harv method. There is also a debate between Fat Tony and Socrates. Book 5 The Nonlinear and the Nonlinear. Focus on this Philo travels stone and its meteor dew. The two main chapters are on technical details, convexity strategy, and fragility mapping. Book and negativia. The power of subtraction is visible here. Instead of adding some things, it's more powerful to remove some things. The medicine has been viewed according to risk management and knowledge. Book 7, The Ethics of Frigency and Anti-Friction. It grounds the ethics on the transfer of frigency, i.e. when a party gets benefit and harm to another. Here is the key to skin in the game. No. The book is written on 3 levels. One, so the literary philosophical, whereas fable and story. Technical argument is just in book 5. The second level is appendix with graphs and technical things. The third is the backup material, which is freely available in the form of all technical papers and notes. I verify that the ass and footable is not proof. Scientific proof is different. I would also like to claim that robust or reliant are just saved from damage. On the antifragiles benefit from randomness and shock. Understanding the difference in robust and antifragile is the important. The appendix has given triad, meaning every can map cheese into 3 categories: fragile, robust, or anti-fragile. The world's very different topics such as field travels, city-state systems, artisan, discovery, financial systems, bacteria resistance, randomness, evolution, risk, insurance, medicine, middle class, workouts, banking crisis, all have been shown to be combined into the same straight thread. Everything can be understood by making a tripod map. The main idea of this book is that we should pay attention to the facility in place of conducting futures or calculating probability, because the fragility and anti-fragility come to a spectrum at different levels. Here I make a map of 3 columns that have to disassemble everything or the system that it is frizzy, robust, or anti-fragile. Fragile cheese needs peace. Antifragile cheese grows from the disorder, and no matter the robust. Think of any policy or item in any subject in this trial and see how you can improve them. As centralized nation is in the state-fragile category, but decentralized city-states anti-fragile is in the category. So, we can make our system with less frizzy. The mistakes are the same. The mistakes in the fragile system are rare. When you are older and are irritable, mistakes in the antifragile system are small, quickly rectified, and filled with information. The system of trial and error is antifragile as we improve by small mistakes. If you have to become an antifragile, keep yourself in a solution where you have mistakes, but it's small so that the loss is lower and the learning is higher. I am a barbell strategy say. There is also a being in health. Some have to add like medication new things. This is in the fragile side, but removing some like harmful things like gluten, fructose, etc. This is much robust and fragile from the trial and error. You should not rely on the things of evidence, but also pay attention to natural and simple things. This map of the triad works everywhere. Culture, health, politics, technology, city planning, economy, in all. From the simple method, we can learn the risk-based thinking and better decision-making. Fragile or antifragile butyl. No, there are relative terms. As an artisan, small is more antifragile than business, but the rock star is even more antifragile than the artisan. Taking a loan leads to a system fracture. Antifragile things also benefit until a limit. More stressors can also break. The body handles a little stress. On the tower of the bezel will fall off. Robustness is the middle column, but not durable in every case. Antifragility or robustness is not the best everywhere. Sometimes there may also be loss in antifragility. Antifragility or fragility all situant depends on absolutely not all solution. As a boxer is physically strong, it can be fragile in emotional things. The grandma is physically fragile but can be strong in the character. The first 2 chapters of the book 1 book explain the concept of antifragility. The 3rd chapter explains the difference in the washing machine, such as cat and mechanical. The 4th chapter shows that some people's antifragilities come from the fragility of others. How some people's fault or problem becomes the benefit for another, like in evolution. If you have a gift sending such as champagne glass, then writes the fragile handle and care on it. But what exactly does it mean? People say robust, strong, reliant. But in reality it is not reversed. Robust does not mean broken, but will not be better. The real upside will antifragile. The thing that goes from shock, trauma, or mishandling and strung. There's no name for this word. So, I made it antifragile. The half of our life is the same as no name. The concept of antifragility is new to our mind, so people get confused. All dictionaries are also confused, as the positive is reverse negative. The reverse of the fragile is antifragile, by the way. No neutral. Antifragile means that things are better than stress, disorder, shock. If you take the exam with mythology, then the Democrats who have always sat under the sword, any time can die, meaning that is frizzy. Phoenix, which is relived after die. The same goes back. No more. But the Hydra, which is the animal of Greek mythology, which is cut off the gets 2 new ones, meaning as much as the loss is more strong will be. It is antifragility. Music Democles' story tells the power and side effects of success. The larger the position as a whole, one day can break everything. After success, the failure of the failure increases and increases. The more complexes of the societies, the soothy ones become, the more frizzy ones become. As Joseph Tenter explained, but it is not necessary. We can avoid if we become a Robs or Antifragile, become a Phoenix or Hydra. No, the sword of the democratic will finish everything. The concept of the triad is that we can see where the string of what is weak and in what to put the antifragility. Fragile cheeses also harm others when it falls. As a large company gets collapsed, the society has an effect. That's why the dosage of antifragility is essential with growth. We think we just know what we can speak, but we know more of our thinking. Our actions and intuitions that we feel or decipher are beyond the capacities of our speech or writing. No of antifragility, no name, but that doesn't mean we ignore this in our life. Our natural heavier use is antifragility, whether we cannot name it. Just as the primitive people had 2-3 color names, yet he easily recognized different colors. Not only was their name in their culture, at the same time we use antifragility in action, but his proprietor did not make the word. There was no name of blue like many basic colors in ancient language. Homer sang sea to the wine dark as blue word not. Yet people took color recognition. The British PM Gladstone first pointed out, that's not the word of antifragility in our vocabulary, but we use this in action. Gladstone understood another thing. Fiscal deficit makes the Carja society a fridge. There are also some early examples of proto-antifragility, just as the king's case of the name Mithridates. He created immunity by giving himself small doses of poisons so that more poisons are not spoiled. This is called a mystardization. This system makes a little robust. This is the beginning on the antiphile no, meaning can make a little harem system and strong. Another level is hormes. This happens when a little hardy substance makes the aquatic body strong. As small dosage benefit gives, more dosage loss. Plants also contain toxins that are healthy for us in the right amount. Slightly hungry is also healthy. The animals live long life from the caloric restriction and feel that it also in humans inspires health, meaning a small amount of stressor is normal for the system. There is a loss. Hormesis was wrongly added to homeopathy. While there are both different things, homeopathy is not a psychotropic proof, but the hormes natural is a process that is a psychotropic evidence. The point is that the system will weaken if we remove all the stressors from the system. He needs a little bit of stress so he can work correctly. If the stressors are removed, the damage will occur. Every system needs a little stress or challenge, but people often have a domain make sense and forget the other. As someone understands in medicine that stress is essential for health, but the same thinking is not found in the second parts of the society, economy, or life. In classroom idea makes sense, but real life does not have access to the street. People cannot transfer the idea from one contact to another. It says the domain dependence. As a banker portal in Dubai arises, on the gym itself lifts the weight as the suitcase. Changing the context on the same idea was understood. Doctors also have an exercise so that the body is torn. On the other hand, antibiotics are prescribed in small infections so that the patient does not have anything. The domain dependence is also seen here. People in the US will be angry with the idea of controlling the price of car or wine from the government agency. The same agency at the interest rate controls. Accept it. Because thinking is just limited in a domain. At the same time, we don't see the anti-facilities in different contexts. Whether it is health, society, or economics, this domain dependence occurs in all. The idea comes in transfer. Just as someone has to relearn everything in different language, we do not understand some idea in the new context. That's why the anti-facility does not appear in the oblivious place. Innovation, success, or growth in the modern society does not see the benefits of stress, only comfort or plain get value. It needs to change thinking. Only the real iron will come. Over-vibration and overreaction occur everywhere. There is also a concept of post-traumatic growth. People do not only serve after bad experience but become more strangled. The popular culture also says it builds character that promotes human beings. Intellectuals focus on the negative effects of randomness, positive effects i.e. antifragility. The real innovation occurs when the life really comes to the public or the challenge. When life has given the project, the new solution has been released and the process brings the most inventions. No safe and comfortable life. In Latin, Hanger taught man to jugger. Ovid also wrote only the talent is awakened, meaning that the challenge won't come to the growth. The more extra energy is released, and the new ones are formed. The modern world misunderstandings that innovation comes from just funding, planning, or professor. Unapproved technicians or enterprisers make the most new things in reality. whether Industrial Revolution or Silicon Valley. Yet people find innovation in comfort and predictability. Great Roman Cato also said that the comfort weakens the human being. Society also. The world is rich today, but it is hard to stay in the midst of the debts. Willpower is reduced from the comfort. Automated flying leads to pilots' skills. Accidents grew as the challenge was low. Challenge should be eliminated without his skills, growth, and antifragility. The best horse can also defeat when the slow horse races with, but when the strong commits less than the rise can win. If you don't have a mean challenge, you'll get the best week. That's the loss of absence of stress. Unless the condition in life we don't reach our best eligibility. Many people become more productive when they are busy, but don't work as they get free time. This mechanism of overvibration is hidden everywhere. Small stress or background noise also keeps mind alert and focus. That's why writers like to work in a little noise in cafes. Because there is a resistance and sharpness. A form of antifungal response is redundancy. Nature always ensures itself. 2 kidney extra capacities, neurons are all redundant. Human system having extra capacities means we're ready when something unexpected. The redundancy vest looks when something is wrong, but when it happens, the same works most. In business, you can earn profit if you have extra fertilizer or oil stock and shortage in the market. Redundancy is not just a defense investment. MBA-based or business experts call it inefficient. That's exactly the most efficient. We can learn from nature. Nature prepares for every time worst case, no seeing just past records. But humans always think of the last worst case, while the real price always goes beyond it. Just as Fukushima took place in disaster, the risk of seeing the same old numbers in risk management is done. But the future may have a new unexpected disaster that never happened before. Nature is always ready for the next disaster. That's why it's alive. The body also prepares for the NCSD level in training. The body in weightlifting is further prepared so that the next time can lift more loads. So antifragility is just ahead of fit. Fitness doesn't just mean adapting to the past requirements. Rather, there is an overvibration for non-very spouts. People tend to shorten post-traumatic growth to the reliant speaking, while there is actually an antifungal. After a large problem, the human being does not just recover but becomes strong, ready gets for new stresses. Redundancy, extra strength, overvibrations are all traced to antifragile systems. When humans break down their brain's domain dependence, overvibration looks everywhere. As people in biology understand bacteria resistance, on the society increases the repression or protest or hatred. Don't understand it. As Seneca said, the more you cherish, the more people hate. Revolutions grow only from retreats. If you try to press them, it becomes faster. As the Sur of the Hydra is cut, the 2 new ones come. Some people in crowd become so bold that they give their lives and others more strongs become. Political movement, rebellion can be all of this very antifragile as much as it presses. Love also sometimes becomes so antifragile that the more probable, the more its intensity increases. Literature has a number of characters that are stuck in love with their option, pens or distances. As much as one ignores them, the more he and the lesser he becomes. As for the dancer of obsession or Bugatti for the art of sand, by pressing the thoughts he becomes oblation. Information is also an antifragile. The faster it spreads to try to suppress it. People tell others more when they tell secrets. Don't tell anyone. The secret from speaking becomes viral. Banned books are read most. Criticism is the real flow of any book as there is no reaction on the boring book. The more bans or criticizes the books are, the more the phrases occur, such as Graham Greene, Henry Miller, Ayn Rand, Madame Bovary, Lady, C.H. Turley's lover. Bad publicity can also be antifragile. If the human being is servicing him, his name becomes more popular. Many people make their name to tease or attack another. Just as the Volts were franchises, the Volts wrote the poems on it. In this way, the name of Freon came to history. A place to avoid negative publicity or criticism can be more high if it is a response proper. My grandfather was also politician, and you are not sure if your son is not bad about you. Envy and criticism is the real sign of the success. Controlling critis or numbness is not possible, and it has become even more difficult to control the reputation in today's internet submission. Therefore, do not hold any job or provocation that breaks from the reputation damage. This job is frizzy. There is no value. Control your exposure to control your reputation or keep yourself in a position where the reputation of don't hurt you or you can benefit from that loss. Writers or artists are therefore anti-fragile as they try to smash them, while the staff or government workers of the corporate employee are very fragile. The reputation of these is everything. As soon as he went to a career finish, if a writer insults publicly to an economist, the sales of his book will increase. But if a middle-level executive does this, then his career will be over, the firing will occur and his image will always be spoiled. Taxi drivers or construction workers do not dip on their reputation, so he is robust. But the man who wears a suit tie tries to stay safe in the office is the most fragile. Prisoner of your image. Large companies and governments do not understand that trying to suppress the information is the same risk for them. As one tries to show conferences in the press conference, markets and investors participate. Panic comes. So I say don't take a date. Reputation does not worry if there is no date. If the reputation is good, then it is good. Those who need reputation are less trusting the most. Sometimes those who try to harem us become the regeneration of the biggest advantages for us. As you kill someone in real life, it will weaken. But in the submission of the information you'll try as much as you'll try to beat someone, the more strong an FEM will be and your loss will occur. The anti-friction of information is hidden everywhere, but we ignore him. Those who try to beat you often have the most indirect help you. This is the irony in life. There are some antifragilities in everything that is alive. The secret of life is an antifragility. Natural things like human body stress can lead to strange. If you put pressure on a limit, it is strung. If you put the stress on a plate or car, it will either break or wake up. He will never be as strong. Some new technologies such as carbon nanotube material have become that in stress self-strengthens. Normal non-living things do not happen. Alive things repair themselves, innovates. But non-living things simply end with time. Jeans or furniture can look stylish if older, but their material does not have a strung and real. There is no repair. Humans also get old after a point. But the big regeneration of aging is that we mismatch from nature. Either the stress decreased or the time of recurrence got short. Comfort in the submission of civilization more. So people live longer lives, but they are more sick. The body becomes weak. People in the primitive societies die directly without the systems of aging or sneeze a little old as they are filled with natural environmental stress. This difference in complex systems and simple systems. Mechanical cheese such as washing machine button press result get straight. But society, market, culture is all complex. Here is the side effects of every action and the chain reaction. Everything is interconnected. Remove an animal food chain will move. If the bank is closed, the entire economy can move. It is difficult to understand the costs in a complex system. So what is shown in news is wrong or incompetitive. Works like stressor information in complex systems. Your body is not minded, but through the stresses understands the environment. As the bonuses are strung from gravity, the skin of the hand is hardened by the formwork. Sunshine leads to skin tan. Children learn through the risk of pens. Errors and conciliations are also a kind of information. So when the system becomes fragile, if the stresses or pressures are removed in the complex system, he does not adapt to the right. The age of the bonus was the old thinking that the bone with the edge becomes weak. But the latest research says that the aging, diabetes, sexual problems can also be triggered after the bone is released. This means not just a bonus, but a complete health beater. So the pressure of civilization such as bosses' stress, exams, daily commute, guilt is all mild and non-stop stress. No recovery time and it's hurryful is. The body needs acute short stress to recover. Then antifragility comes. When the stress is constant and small, he breaks the body such as Chinese water torture. The political system is also complex, but people mistakenly understand the washing machine to the economy. Monthly maintenance should, no big boss should, but in fact the system does self-organize, interlinked and gets fragile from top-down control. Adam Smith thought economy as organism. Everything is adjusted with the invisible hand. Plato thought wrong. Stay to the ship explain that must have captain. But the complex system is the biggest mistake to understand the washing machine. Social scientists see equilibrium like balance or stability, as the balance of the supply-demand or return to the middle of the pendulum. But I say real alive systems such as living organism or society never live in equilibrium. Equilibrium for these means death. Stop everything. Randomness, volatility, stress, and continuous change is essential for living alive. Everything when we remove the volatility of perfectly make this stable, the system becomes weak. We try to avoid stressors in modern life. At the same time, we are harming life, society, and science. Every second young man in the US today is on an antidepressant. Avoid swinging the mood to everyone. But I say that mood swings, sadness, as he is all part of the real intelligence of the human being. Art, soul, and realness disappears from the world if we make poets, thinkers, artists a happy medicine. Just profit to pharmaceutical companies ought. He will also remove the seizures if he receives money. We are harming the lives of children to remove variability. We are making the society boring to all. When we learn languages not from textbook but by mistake, situational defects learn from trial and error, but because of the comfort and success, we have forgot to learn from the natural ones. Everything has become easy, safe and prompt. Learning gets dying when you don't get stressed. Tourism has been done in modern life. Every activity one user has become like manual, script or scheduled plan. Uncertainty, adventure, randomness are all removed, so that everything is predisposable and comfortable. But it all catalyzes alive systems. The thirst of uncertainty readiness dies. The time of leisure has also been scheduled. The Friday night opera plus party has become everything golden gel. The nature of the human being wants randomness, risks and chance. Games, gambling, surprise comes with thrill C in all. Writing also enjoys when it comes to randomness. No fun in the plan or routine comes. If the life is made fully predicatious, it is depriving. Real setup only gets when wallets or things are found after loss, or when real deniers time energy arrives, not from the motive of the plunge gym schedule. Life was random in old deposits. Never homework, not the boss, not the application. Everything was from the chance and the risk. The denser was not boring. Modern systems have chronic stress as all repetitive beans and predicamental. Walking on uneven terrain is natural. Moving the beans on the gym machine again and again is unnatural. Chronic low-level predisposable stress relieves human beings, breaks the alive system. Randomness, variability, and a little risk is essential for living alive. Everything without it gets boring, weak, and feck. Each system requires a fridge of some people or units to be another strang, i.e. the whole system grows on the fault, loss, or sacrifice of some. As every startup is fragile, the entire economy is only innovated when multiple startups fail. That's why entrepreneurship runs. Check the restoring exam. Everyone is restore fragile. On all of these components, the entire industry becomes antifragile. Quality is innovated. If all the restoring becomes immortal, everything gets stagnant and boring. There is no innovation. Natural systems also have layers and hierarchy. Organism itself is fragile on her genes or information is antifungal, i.e. an organism can die on his genes survey, modify and improve new generation. The real logic of evolution is the same. Organism is weak, genes is strong and genes enjoy from randomness and uncertainty. Let's innovate. Nature means more interactive than individual. As long as reproduction is happening, organism has value, then he goes on genes survey in next generation. If an organism is immortal, it has to be prepared for every kind of future shocks that are impossible. Random events are never known, so nature organisms give a limited life so that every generation has a little change and can adapt the system. That's why nature is a peer or power are not always surveyed, but brings new people and systems so that everything is fresh. Evolution also enjoys randomness. Both random mutations and random environment improve NCST generation. Not every offspring survey. Weak people go out. Strong people improve species by surveying. Sometimes the whole spies also die in a large catastrophe. No matter the nature, those who are saved will move forward. But randomness also benefits to a greater extent. If everything is destroyed, nothing will escape, but the system will resume if the little one is left. If you take the example of antibiotic resistance, when trying to kill bacteria, which are saved and become strong, then it becomes difficult to fight them. It is also a kind of antifragility. An organism itself is a population, group of cells, group of mammals in cell, group of organism in species. At every level, some weak units are collected so that the entire system can be strong. As weak proteins body use in fasting, healthy proteins serve. It is also an evolutionary process. Mistakes, errors, and adaptation important. The fragile system must have a productivity, no depression. The antifungal system should be deviated. Need randomness comes with the impression. Every error in trial and error gives a new impression, and that's where real discovery is. The system will continue to be strong to learn as long as the error or failure is in the system. That's why mistakes are also a blessing, because the same brings growth and anti-fragility. The system has layering. At every level, some people have a complete system strong with fault, loss, or sacrifice. Even if he is not an accident, there's a large ships and a greater accident in the future. So the death of those saved the lives of the rest. Plane crash also improves the system every time, makes the next flight safe. On the economic system is not the same, because there is a bank's fault immersed by other banks. Good systems are where mistakes are small and different. As in emotion, while fragile, a mistake in modern economy like systems makes everyone clear. Mistakes learn the system from mistakes and variability. Adapts and shows you who is the real friend, what is the character. Those who make mistakes should learn from them. Those who repeatedly make the beans mistake or put the blame is loser. Those who have never been mistaken can't be relied on because the mistaken manger is more reliable to make a new mistake every time. Biology also has layers. Cells, proteins, body, spicy all-encompassing occurs. The economy also has a being. Individuals, small firms, large firms, industries, complete market, complete systems are formed only if every individual unit is fragile, wrinkle, fault, sometimes fail. Explore restaurant business. Every restore never stops, but the industry grows from this condition. But the entire system becomes weak when the government starts saving large firms, because the risk of the failure spreads. Being an antifragile occurs at the cost of the individuals. Like nature's night dad, nat kill makes May stronger. It's not always right. Sometimes who was not dead was strong. The rest of the people die. So, overall filtration has been strong, but the individual did not stand out from that process. So the fault, sacrifice, and loss are always at any level. Only if the system is surveyed and innovated. The strength of the system is priced by the visual and is the real nature of the antifragility. We always have a tension between the invisual and group. That is, the interactive of invisual in old deposits value was low. It was normal for the group. Being a hero meant to give his life to the group. Now the suicide bombers have the struggle that these people do not care about their lives. Doing anything for the group gets ready, whether rewarded or not met. People in group activities, rates, war forget their visuality and become part of the herd. His thinking becomes a role in the group. The nature also does. Save yourself, not everyone else. And sacrificing every species to their individual members that genes can serve, i.e. the concept system of antifragility strengths. But on the cost of the individuals, but I don't like it because it reduces the human sense that is against a humanist thinking. The Enlightenment brought up the value of the individual. Now everyone has got rights, freedoms, privacy. But the first deposit was the most important of the family or tribe. Sometimes people repay the loan of other relatives, just to save the privacy of the family. Mafia in culture also, group loyalty is the instinct to make itself sacrificial. Yet the system is essential to survey the individual, but it may be wrong to glorify an interest in complexity and interdependence. Sometimes humans have to be known against nature for their benefit, but it is necessary to keep the balance. I'm told entrepreneurship at the level of heroism. It also has to take the risk. Sacrifice is done and the society cannot grow without it. Antifragile fails, even if he accidentally gets knowledge to the society that what should not do, but does not get a respite. Societies ignore or dissipate it. Even if the failure of the actual entrepreneur or the scientist, you should get the bean-like owner as the dead soldiers get. Because the society proceeds from their risk. Even overconfidences that speak psychologists are sometimes beneficial for the system, for they will not take any risks and will not come new ideas innovation. People with managers and safe play take rarely risk and do not push the system. My dream is a National Entrepreneurs Day where society openly says you're struggling because of your sacrifice. Our country thank you. If you fail, your role is instant. That's the real source of antifragility. People and systems in modern deposits are ignoring their true strength, i.e. antifragility. Like a Albert Rose is made to fly figuring, but when he is placed on the ground he becomes absolutely useless. Just when we remove volatility, randomness, or stress from the system so they feel that everything is safe, but in real he becomes more frizzy. Greek was Procrustes in myth that cuts or pulls his stems to fit every guest into his bed, just because the beds are perfect. The modern society also tries to fit everything, but it breaks the systems from the inside by eliminating natural randomness. John and George were two brothers. John works in a bank. Her salary is fixed. Life takes predictable. But if one day has gone job, then the entire income will be zero. He will be useless. George, on the other hand, is a taxi driver. It's more than ever, but he always earns something and can never work. George's income is variable, but the risk is also small and he adapts himself, solves new problems every day. John thinks his life is secure, but he can lose everything in a day in real. George thinks his life is risky, but in real he is robust. That's not all over. Trying to avoid randomness, i.e. everything smoothing and controlling, makes systems more shock-prone. People like taxi drivers, carpenters, plumbers, prostitutes face new stresses every day. So he learns all the time and is strong with time. People like an athlete can go to job and then nothing left. Nature likes short-sized mistakes as it evolved genes, but humus seems to be mistaken. So he misses the antifragility. Similarly, the centralized government takes the same smoothness, but a big shock break everything can. There are a lot of clients of a taxi driver such as small city states. There are more robs or antifragiles because a little bit of the risk comes from every side. but no one eliminates everything a big shock. Whenever the system has variability, volatility, or randomness, it avoids black sign events, i.e. big shock. But when we try to make everything stable, the little ones escape from the problem. But one day can come a big digester that will finish everything. So allowing small stressors and randomness, the system is healthy. This is the basic mantra of Antifragility. I'm sitting in a cafe of Zurich where there was no one to take before and wondering why Switzerland is the world's most antifragile place. Here every kind of refugees, political, financial, rich people come to their safety, stability, and shelter. Voltaire also ran Switzerland in his days when he had teased the king or the church, and he also made his money in Egizil, because stressors and risks benefited. Real of Switzerland's stability, the secret is that there is no big central governance here. The bottom up here is designed at the level of small municipalities and cants. Mean small areas do their local work. Due to this, the fights on petite, small politics, water fountains are etc. But that's what makes a small volatility system stable, as one of the big powers don't control everything. The system here is boring. Grand idea, utopia, or intellectual do not have big things. But that's the job does. So Switzerland is the safest, most robust, and anti-fragile country in the world. Switzerland is not a nation state, but the federation of small units. These small units have more biological and emotional attachments. People live in direct contact from the front. So if you make a mistake, it is shy. Responsibility is also felt. Everything gets abstract in large states. Feeling of people disappears. Civil servants just see numbers, spreadsheets, statists, do not care for real people. What? One of my friends said Stellan could never act in a profitability because at a small level so power would not be near anyone. Such as small businesses, small companies, local law systems are much more robust. Just like the jazz-based law is strong due to diversity. While there may be big mistakes from the RID code, lobbyists also grow in larger systems. It is difficult to lobby at the local level in small systems. Hence, the risk of taxation or manipulation is lower. Popular apprenticeship of Switzerland. Also education. The model does not just come from the university degree or the theological knowledge. The system here is technique-based, i.e. actual work and skills, not just bookish knowledge. Bottom-up volatility is a part of the small corals or work stress natural system at local level, such as small corals or small flocks. I speak mid-Christian. Here are a lot of variations, but no one is so big that everything worsens. On the other hand is the extreme location, where all the smooth and stable looks in appearance. But sometimes there are very large catastrophe jumps or disasters go, such as financial crash or any large political event. Here's what the rear event takes the most of the effects. Dali's small fluctuation in Madagascar keeps system strong and adapt. But the extremist has a hidden big risk that can smash anytime. When we try to control or smooth the volatility that is natural from planning, centralization, or over-intervention, we put the system from mid-Christian to extremist, meaning to lead small problems ever won the days make a big problem cry that spoils everything. Predictability is very low. The risk of black SN events increases and everything seems to be safe until all breaks from the same. If the turkey gets good food every day, it seems that the turkey loves it. Confidence increases. But the day with Thanksgiving eliminates the same shock all. The mistake of the turkey is that he thinks that there is nothing bad in the past but will not be in the future. But this thinking is the biggest defaults. Similar planning and artificial sustainability also flowers us. When systems run more control, more stabilization, or top-down management, as the Ba'ath Party did in Syria, the business, trading, culture, and professionalism of there fell. Prosperity was as long as decentralization, local management, small volatility, such as Switzerland or then ancient Northern Levant. As centralized state the craze of creating utopia came. Sarah's system broke in and people ran. In small loose systems like Barod, people got a business-friendly environment and they began to prosper. Natural small volatility, decentralization, and local control systems make strong and anti-fragile. The appearance of much control, stability, or planning leads to system extremist tan, where the same big hobby can eliminate everything. It should always be understood that there was no dexterity of the absence. Evidence of absence is not. That's nothing further. Everything seemed perfect in Lebanon. Freedom, economic energy, but here the state was so loose that every group took their weights and the Christian community began to impose their identity. Result was an arms race and then civil war in 1975 because there was no control. Lebanon's exam suggests that a little disorganized is healthy, but if the system is exactly loose, the chaos may come. But still people reaffirm the battle, the risk straggle, much more than losing a freedom. As a rich Alipoi spoke to him better than the war PR Jan. culture, language, all stem of both Lebanon and North Syria was. But despite the civil war in Lebanon today, the standard of living is 3 to 6 times higher than Syria, because there was a tight control of the Ba'ath Party in Syria, while Lebanon had a little freedom. Raziel and Machiavelli also say a little agitation, a little case brings energy, freedom, and progress in people. More than grinding leads to growth, freedom, not from stability. Centralized states like ancient ISPs serve for a short time, but the system breaks as soon as any unpredictable invoices come from the outside. A little autonomy gave to Roman and Ottoman localates such as peers. He made business and commerce grow at the local level, but military power kept in his hand. So the system was stable. The system of empire is more stable than the centralized nation-state as the locals get freedom to do their work. In Europe, as long as there were no large nation-states like Germany and Italy, small states and city-states lived in constantly tension, but it was tension manageable, just as the rainy droplets ever flood no. But as the big nation-states came to the world wars like massive disasters, the volatile system of small units was much safe, while the smooth system of large units takes a day total destruction. As restoring businesses are small failures, but never the whole industry falls together. A hobby in the banking or centralized system drops everything. Some people think that the world has been more safe, but the risk was never so big in history as it is now. Because today's massive nation-states, nuclear weapons, and everything can be ruined in a shock from the interconnected system. Risk future is not in the past. Messy empires such as Austro-Hungarian and Ottoman were broken. Cities like Vienna, Alexandria, Istanbul lost their identities and people went to culture. I also feel when my Levantine was over at the Christian World Lebanese War. Good for a little randomness system. The system of no randomness becomes weak and the hidden risk accumulates. As a bank's multiplier that looks secure but in the same shock can lose everything, the centralized system can also fall into the same shock. On the other hand, the artisan taxi driver or decentralized masseuse system keeps running short, thick, shallow, so he is more stable and antifragile in the long term. James Clerk Maxwell had reported that when we control a system very tightly, like the speed of the steam engine becomes ever and unstable, machinery can also be broken. Even if we fix prices or delete volatility, the periods of the big crash can come after work. Slightly confusion, little randomness maintains the system healthy. The most burnt things are eliminated and avoided by a large digester, like forests have small fires. If the firms get small setbacks in economy, they are strong. But if nothing happens by too much time, one day comes a big crisis. All weak hands are released when the market touches new loads and gets a clean cleaning. Weak as long as the market is safe, people become confident, and when the crisis comes, they crash the crash of the mill. Regular volatility keeps the system clean. The example of Burden's donkey is that if the condenses are standing between the stock and the water will die, but a little random push can escape if found, meaning that the system can get a new condition from randomness when it is streak. Metals also have an annealing technique used to create a strong. Heat the first and then cool a little so that the atoms can go into the new position. Improves a little stress, slightly randomness system. Also a little bit in politics, randomness can be helpful in governance. At the Athens and old deposits, the politicians were sucked with random draws so that the system does not degenerate. Computer simulations also show that the system works better if some people in the parliament are tailored to random. Voltaire says that sometimes political assessments also brings fresh energy into the system. The master of the boss in mafia is also part of the natural taxation, and the system can be jam if the boss takes for much time. Today's time in CEOs, politics, professors all more live in power till time, so the system becomes slow and boring. The addition of taking a decisions from random draw lot or fat was the same. Think at a time people were reading a line of the random of the angels and add shell and considered the line as the direction of their decision so that the regression is not. I myself select the menu randomly in the restaurant or take the same as what the thickest man is ordering so that there is no tension of the choices. Things that burn when there is no fire are quietly deposited. The same time when the political instability or small battle if you don't have an extravagant thing in the system inside. People become surprised when I say the stability is also like a time bomb. In the inside, the risk accumulates. Joseph de Maistre said the conflicts make the countries strong. War is not good, but the point is that we often see the loss immediately, but there are no later advantages. As the gardener prunes the tree, the first hail is. Later the tree becomes strong. The same forced grinding or fact stability long term can cause much damage. As the World War in Europe grew up after several years of peace, sustainability and work-looking systems actually have a silent risk. Volatility is the real information. When leaders or policymakers try to prevent fluctuations, they make the system more fragile. The risk does not appear until something happens. But when there is a blow-up, it is too big. The longer it takes is the higher the loss of blowing up. Artificial sustainability is a game in which we buy short-term peace, but the long term has a big loss, as Egypt's government or Saudi Arabia, where US support has caused stability and damage inside. In Iran, the US had a repressive feeling that the side effects are visible to this day. The American policies bring much instability in what they do in the name of stability in the Middle East. Modernity means that human beings are dominating the environment. Randomness everywhere and removing stress. Make everything smooth. This modernity is not just the submission of industrial or science, thinking that everything can be perfected from human design. Rationalize everything, optimize. In modernity, we put everyone on the Proustian bed, try to fit everyone into the same size, whether the foot is cut or pulled. Some things can be good in this process, but in most it does harm. Rondas is the lion safe of Jew, but in the life of the free lion that is real randomness, strangle and fun, he does not have it. Modernity has depended everything to the natural and story. Public functionalities or large company amplists just do the same thing that fits into a story. Exhibitor has become important over real profits or real results. The first man understands from the gossip and real story. Today the press receives sensational and remote news, but the real relevant has gone away from things. The first were our billies or goads to handle the uncertainty. Today we want to control everything, but our mistakes have also grown. Nation is also part of this process. The agency or power have no longer come to the human, and when the man has power, his mistakes are too big, such as monopoly on violence or fiscal irascibility of state. In 1930 an expiration occurred. 389 children were taken to the doctor. The operation of the tonsils was refunded on 175. The rest of the children showed another doctor. So, 99 speaks of operation. Then the third doctor took the baby. 52 is called the operation. This means the work of the doctor. The habit is the largest prologue. Everyone thinks of something without thinking. Every unnecessary operation reduces the child's life exposure. But it doesn't make sense when the profit is higher and when the damage. I call naive interventionism. Just hurry to do something without thinking. When more damage is caused by treatment, it is called atropine. It came from word Greek, meaning loss caused by healer. As George Washington's death doctors took so much blood that he died, because the blood coating was common treatment. First time the hospital killed more people from saving alive. Death rate was increased due to hospital fever or germs. While street children surveyed much, Dr. Semmelweis did all this proof, but he gave them the people. On the other hand, he sent to Elam by insanely listening to him, and it came to pass afterwards. But he took a lot of pens, and the system thrived them. Even today, medical atropine is a great price. Doctors or pharma companies get over treatment. Anisari medicines give or misapply for your profit. Medical error in the US kills 10 times more people than 3 to car accident. Great is that now there is a little impression in the medical field, but in the rest of the fields, people still don't believe that their help can sometimes be hearty. That's the principle, just doesn't medicine every field: politics, economics, education, urban planning, etc. Anyone who intervenes blindly where he does not need hydrogenics cry, meaning a fair to help systems does more harm. It's hard to understand because most people always understand that they can't make mistakes. It is also spoken in the release that works wrong but do not understand itself. Some cases also contain an aggregate. Sometimes the wrong or bad thing of one is benefited. As hackers attack the system becomes strong, or someone's negative publisher gets something and FEM. The system that is antifragile is attacked by people to strengthen it. Capitalism is the same. Humans do something for their own advantages, but the system has the advantage of it. Whether intention is anything, both socioeconomic life and human body have the problem of heterogenics, meaning we intervene more than the need without responses that things can recover or grow by themselves. People treat every problem like engineering problem that is fine in the machine but not in organisms or biological systems. All in place, we refuse antifragility. System forcefulness makes the system more vulnerable in trying to evaporate. People in social science and economics do not know the heterogenics. They have no concept or word. When I wanted to take class on the model error in economics, people ignored or stopped. Show the said syllabus. But the real problem is that the thirst itself cries the mistake. The physicals have a critically safe since every new theory is better than old. But every woman in social science is different from the second tier and acid and thinks in practical life there are very fragile. The theory of social science is super fragile. Real world risk analysis sucks. The impact of hydrogenics in social science and policy is not as small as Medicastani but bigger as extremistan. A mistake can ruin everyone because of power concentrator. Economic crisis was also the main regeneration of 2007. Intervention of people like Alan Greenspan. He tried to smooth the boom-bust bicycle, healed the wrist, then a day burst everything. Eliminate fuel in small fire forest gives. Similarly, small failures remove weak firms in economy. But when all the smoothness is visible, the big rick is accumulating inside. Ethics' problem is that human beings try to show something when they get power. Democracy wins the biggest prize. Whether the long-term cost is anything, tendency is in every field. Collect the exam of editing. An editor will take 5 changes. The second will see the same page. Then 5 will change. Perhaps the changes of the first one will change back. Over-intervention occurs in correct place and there is nothing to replace the real need. More intervention means less intervention. Small governance can sometimes be more invasive, but the message is not that the intervention is always wrong. Sometimes under-intervention is also predominant, as in an emergency or when there is a big deal of control in the environment or economy. The correct movement is that control the size, concentration, and speed. It reduces black swan risks. Speed limiting on highway increases safety, but more regulation on the street alertness of the upside-down people reduces and can increase accidents. The substreet science was removed in the Dresden, Netherlands as the people grew up from themselves. This idea does not fit in US politics. Democrats tend to intervene hyper. Republicans leave the corporation free. Both increase the date. Do not understand both black swan risk. Interventions have a systemic protocol of when to do something, when to leave the system, and we must control the big loss of the environment such as the hydrogenics of the modesty. I don't support a party, just ask the risk and harem to take into account the policy so that we don't end the planet and the human society. The practice of interventionism is that the person in the society gets credit of something that works, but there is no one that prevents the human being from being bad. The doctor who does not operate the present and gives the patient's body a chance to heal himself does not get a responsive or reward. But the doctor who performs an unnecessary surgery shows a relief to the present, earns money, shuns hemorrhoids joins. The corporate manager who makes loss avoid receives a reward. The real hero of the black swan world is the one that stops before the big trouble occurs. But because he is not troubled, he does not get credit. Old people were more sensible, such as Roman general Fabius Maximus, called Concutor I, procrastinator. He defeated the enemy Hannibal not in direct fight, but by delaying. It was his straightness that the action was taken down so that the unnecessary loss is not. On the same idea, the Fabian society also remained in the UK, in which the delay was considered a smart political strategy, so that the wrong time does not have the wrong action and the people can change their thinking when some things came out. The famous proverb of Rome is to hurry slowly. In Chinese philosophy, Lajub also said that they do not do anything. We misunderstand procrastination, but in fact it is the natural defense of our body and mind. Nature has a chance to do its job. The mistakes are reduced. When there is a real denier, like a lion gets in the room or a fire, there is no procrastinate. But it is beneficial to procrastinate in artificial work or things that are not needed. I try to write myself. If you don't have the mind of writing, then you don't have to write waste or false. I write the same in which the natural interest is. Psychologists and economists speak that proviron is disease, but actually the environment sucks, not human beings. Presentation is our naturalistic filter. It helps to ignore short-term usage, so that we don't jump without thinking. People think that the natural nature is not always true. Naturalistic spreads, but risk is a big mistake to ignore the nature in a case. The test of nature time has undergone. The most robust is the same. The journeys that ignore the risk and molarize just are useless. They should go out of the gene pool. The modern society is making us neurotic every second by the bomb of information. A person who overreacts on everything makes every news a great problem to every problem we call neurotic. On the other side, when the human being reacts on the real risk is true leader type. The first one seems to be noble. The second one appears only the signal. Even in science, noisy means random waste information that should be ignored. We react on everything and start to intervene because of our inability noise and signal separation. If a person dies quickly, give a personal doctor. Whether the doctor is good or bad, personal doctor means much intervention, unnecessary treatment, and over-medication. Because the doctor has to dissatisfy his salary and do not do anything, he feels not working. This is why many people, rich people, or leaders die like common people despite taking much medical care, or sometimes even before them. Michael Jackson, who over-intervention of the personal doctor carried out the problem. This product is not only in health, but also in cooperation and policy making. like Alan Green Spain, who had data gathering departments and react on every small flotation where noise understood the signal. Because of this, he did the coups. With more data in business and economic dessert making, there are more rewards. Because data also has spurious wastes. Reduce the signal as much as possible to see the frequent data. Is signal noise ratio 1 in early data? When looking for a daily, 5% signal and 95% of noises are lost, and only then almost everything gets used. So the person who sees the news daily is not just looking at the noise. Newspapers every day put the page to fill, but there are a lot of days when the two-line paper is quite. But let's give a bunch of news about making money. Junk news is also a kind of atrophic. Overload of information in human biology also revolutionizes the problem. As much as the hormonal or more food, news or sugar confers much of the conditioned body, more information also refers to mind. We also react on the noisy, while the real signal lets you know anyway when need. So just see the big changes. Ignore small flotations. We are living in virtual reality because of the media being different from the real world. Because the media shows only the sensational anecdotal stories every day, real risk hides. The media's explanations and things also give us a mistake that we are understanding the world. We have forgot to check the real world's map from reality. That's why we think everything is in control. While the world is becoming frizzy, reducing information ration best, the solution is to avoid over-intervention. It's difficult to understand people in the internet's deposit. The more data we'll be able to understand, the less and the more wasteful intervenes. In China, when the state began to control food, the starvation grew. There was redundancy despite being an infancy system in Soviet Russia. People used to help each other as real human links were not virtual. Food in the US is inefficient but can worsen everything from a disorder. While efficiency in Russia saved actually people, France also runs everything good because of the myth that centralized state. But in fact, there was a state nominal in France. Most of the country was decentralized. Local language was. Everywhere was the right culture. The real effect of centralization was very late, and decentralization began again despite sometimes centralized growth. France's diversity, variety and localness had its strength and not the top-down control. Sweden and the river countries exams give people how many people with a large state countries happy and developed is. As Denmark is the world's most happy nation. But the truth is that there is just a tax deduction on money. Locals use the community themselves, like local skill training or the local community, whether it is economic health, also gets more freedom than other democracies there. So it really isn't as statism as far as it seems. The country, like Sweden, also strengthened the system of strong fiscal policies in 1990 and subsequently reduced the impact of the large global crisis, meaning reforms from the crises and the system gets torn. The second important matter, when one of the constrained fragile system breaks, people always blame to the prediction failure, such as incorrecting intelligence failure or forecasting. But the fact that the fault was in the fragility of the system, no one in a short catalyst or event. As IGP high resolution, Obama blamed that we didn't predict, but not a problem production had hidden vaccines inside the system. Similarly, in the financial crisis of 2008, all prime meltdowns or any event that's all missing. The actual cause was the underlying fragility, meaning people condense in catalysts and costs. So the money and energy in the production is the vast, as such events are unpredictable, and it may never be like Vegas's blackjack that a little better will be redirected. Probability of political or economic tail events in real world can never be perfected. Whatever data is, how much research is there? I have an experience. Economics in a financial panel, future years of projection appear. So I showed anger in the public and said our record in the future observation is 0. And this is also the deniers, as it makes people overconfident to risk takers, such as giving false medicine. We understand child proofing but not forecasting proofing. The solution is that we have to create such a robust system that does not break even if there is an incorrect production. Means antifragile or robust. If you have extra cash, gold or food, you don't have to practice every crisis. You are the already ready. But if you're in borrowing, you'll have to direct everything. So the focus should be that make your system at least fresh. Dip less on the production and learn from the history that the utopian planning is useless if there are no humus change. A person can make a house on a moon. The trajectory of the planets can be inducted. Quantum can account for small effects of physics. But the governments and their super advanced models are also revolution, crisis, budget deficit, climate change or stock market price after a few hours. It can't be practiced. This is both different worlds. One where some things can be predicted. The second where there are black SN events that are unpredictable and deniers. That's the sense of understanding which things can be practicable and what's not. Focus on keeping yourself safe when you have a black sign written things. Social, economic, cultural life mostly comes in the same black stand zone where the impact of the rear events is very high and they are prompted Namamkin is. No matter how many experts or how advanced models are, I repeatedly say that randomness in the black swan domain is so compacted that it is not possible to understand. Mathematical is limited. No technology or PhD can also break it. My work is to tell when you use the right place and when not. The target is to get yourself out of the fourth quadrant. This is where the rear, unpredictable and hodge there are events with effects and risk calculation fails. The Vinnertech all effect in modern deposition has increased. Some people or companies carry everything in everything, saved nothing for the rest. It also increases unpredictability. Now more things are going on from the black sign effect, and it is becoming difficult to understand. The second side is also that people are beginning to predicament even more after the black snap popular is. New complicated models are made. The actual solution is simple. Reduce and discussion shift to anti-facilities. Don't put the system on the focus productions to make it stronger if it's wrong. Another practical tip is to put books near you for every big crisis or a disaster as the nests work when the light goes or the time passes. This is robust. Electricity is not required. This is the logic of the robust system which can tick in any crises. Music Nero works to read books. Just study around life. Not exactly like reading Fat Tony. Says a day memory or write, but not read a single book propriely himself. Fat Tony Bruglin raises the cradle. New Jersey shifted is the perfect tactical accent. Office is allergic to work and routine. Relaxes throughout the day. Sometimes some deals and always food. More people live. Everyone walks in the stress. But both Nero and Tony are afraid of being bored. So often there are lunch excuses. Dinner is easily found. Finding lunch partners is a tough. The offices are boring. Stress die. The level is different in the Italian restaurant of Tony. The honor awaits him. The staff becomes happy. When you go, don't speak some gifts. Neru's equity was reduced by lunch. When a Tony gets met in the gym, the Tony does his horizontal workout. Gold jacuzzi steam bath then restore. Tony needs even more friends company in evening that is fun. Dev ideas. Neru's life is different. Sleep quickly at night, quickly get out of the party, work in the day, much time online books mangawana, reading. After the old adventurous life now prefer quiet routine. A lot of things to Nero is allergic. Flip-flops, TV, politicians, bankers, New Jerseys, cruise rich people, university admin, name droppers, elevator music, well-dressed salesmen. Fat Tony empts suits people not like men points. Tony can smell the facility. Literally takes a sniff with new people. As Dog Nero is in a winter translation group, where not all equival rule strict at the seniority degree. Second club weightlifting mostly New York's dormant jetters mobster type people. Free from inside distilled. Keeping yourself busy with knowledge, but the deeper it gets. Curiosity cannot be eliminated according to a Venetian proverb. It is increased by healing it. Nero has 15,000 books. Come new every day. The stress of the box likes to read the medical text as themselves face cancer and helicopter crashes. So the human body and the tech frically became interesting. Statistics and probability have a formally trend. He believes is a philosophy. One book life writing probability and meta-probability. On every 2 years it takes to raise. Nero likes to move around in the old cities without the plan. Travels with randomness. Destination decides on smale. Whenever the New Jersey is in New York, it is not happy to see the New Jersey. Tony also says I didn't really need you. After the crisis of 208, the friendship of both was understood. The two had already approached that this system will break as there are hackers in the world. Nurses for Fat Tony, bankers, administrators most there are big hackers. He becomes even bigger in the group. Tony recognizes Sakers, bets against them, makes money, won the life of harem. The version of Nero was intellectual. The system for him who understands probability is wrong so will break. Both have antifragile because the agonist bit of fragility is applied. Tony earned a lot of money in the crisis. Nero earned a little but happy. Money was not something special for him. The family was pre-wealthy. Money was a waste of time. Brings more money compliments. No happiness. Nero feels flashy lifestyle. Acts as money all rubbish. In the case of ethics, Nero believes that the first one should do sakars. Tony believes that it is worthwhile to give warning. Words are for CCS. People will not respite until they take money. Tony should approve. Bank statement, physical target of wins. Don't get into the dizziness of the resignation. People are unfair. Nero saw that too many scientists are crazy behind the recognition. For those who do not get upset, Nero decided that he game will not play. Watch your Fat Tony bed games in envelope. Then ignore starts the day. However, Nero should also be exempted according to ethics. The real human beings who rick themselves on their opinion. Nero's mantra was erudition, aesthetics, risk-taking. Follows Fed Tony's rule in charity. Just donate them that don't ask the directory. No salary. Normal charity never gives money to organization. Nero was suffering from being alone. Especially before the crisis of 208, he thinks what there is no problem or the world is strange. On Sunday night, this feeling was even more strong. Lunching with Fat Tony seemed that she is not alone crazy or hardly both crazy. The world's things did not understand and the other people could never understand the intelligent people. Millions of professionals, government, academy, banking, corporations, etc. work in economy. But the very few people saw the 208 crisis, and the full damage of it was even less people, and they did not understand that they understood that crisis is due to modern deposition. Nero downtown could stand near the World Trade Center in New York. See how much energy, how many people, how many novices, how much information, how many bags are being eaten. Well, all waste, just getting the noisy energy vest. Ecozone warming up. Wealth is an illusion that can disappear anytime. If you streak all books, you will become a mountain. But the statistics or the mathematical model in them for Nero is just air. Whether it's evidence. Take a couple of lunches with Fat Tony then from Harvey's 2 million book more. It's all the big ones. Fat Tony did not take a billy in the productions. However, he had a big income by practicing that practicers who practicing will fail. It is paradox. Science conferences met neurophysicist who got his business fail when he used fancy models on productions. Fat Tony does not take a billy on the predisposition, but the production has been released. The point is that the prompt can't, but it can predicate that what is predicting is at risk. Sometimes neither will fail because the inducement may be wrong and the overconfident people crash. Those who depend on productions takes much more risk. Fat Tony is antifragile as he agitates the fragile people, finds their fragility. He hath a side, earns when culps happen. Then the fun from Nero, Shank Kachai, lunch. The model of Fat Tony is simple. Find fridge things, put the bid on them and earn money. Another human of Italy before Fat Tones had developed a problem solved of antifragility. Seneca. His stock philog is a perfect, practical, and real-world conscious. Seneca was the richest. The Roman Empire also had a sharp aperture tutor in trading. He followed his stock philosophy in which he stayed indifferent from the fact, giving practical functions, handling adversity and poverty and also to wealth. Seneca's stoicism has a fresher. I lost nothing. When something goes bad, stocks enjoy the challenge. It's all loads that say to the luxury is dependency. Robustness means you have no effect on anything. No, it is not possible to suffer. Stay in the middle. But there is no smosism simpel robustness of the Seneca. He is an antifungal. From the top can began. There is no loss from the bottom. Commentators miss that Seneca has taught antifragility as intellectuals do not like antifragility. Their focus is just up to robustness. Seneca wanted to get upsides from the fat and there is no bad. Seneca has two lesion, controlling the first downside, refraining from immodities. We will further understand how to bring the second to antifragility and how it does. Losing becomes more when it becomes weak. Well, gain. The story with the sword of the Democrats makes the fear of loss much when it is rich. Sleep increases poor stress. The hair on the face begins to grow. Sense of humor finishes. Possession becomes punishment. Because we get the pants on them. No advantage of upside. The fear of the downside is only afraid. Dependency is a new slivery on the MOs. Ants knew this. LVI wrote the main feel the good lace intently transaction the bad. Modern psychologists are now making the theory on loss aversion, on Seneca, and older people were already understood in a practical way. If you have more to lose and get less than you are frizzy. Seneca gave its practical solution. Perform mental exercises. Understand the finish of writing your positions so that you don't have to suffer if there's loss. As the insurance works, he also took the same stuff when he traveled to shipwreck. Meaning minimum was normal to take that time slave. It is written. It is also modern. I also wrote resignation letter on my job times so that no dependency. The trader's time daily morning thinks that everything was over the day bonus took place. If you are using the worst case imagine then the mind is cool. Discipline is strong. It's difficult to do when all good running. But then the most important is, an intelligent life means that your feelings have a position that does not hurt. There is no sting of losses. Write off mentally belonging so that the world's volatility doesn't beat you. Stoicism means not to eliminate the emulations. Just bring them into control, do, not to make a person vegetable. A modern stoic is one that turns his fear into taking the decisions of thinking. Pens, in the information, the chance to learn the fault and the desire in action. Seneca gives tricks to handle life. Stop a day to keep anger separated from action. Don't react immediately so that you don't have to regret later. The second Roman apertures such as Hadrian Gus sleeves eye abscess. Afterwards just got the guilt could not improve some. Sancus says invest in good deeds as he is a snatch from us no. Seneca goes a step further. It is said that there is a slogan of understanding. The master of Bocaf he kept upside of the stike trades break, put money, but survived his negative effects. The second stike say that the power is better on it may be just the thing that he himself was poor. Seneca made her slave without having to put money in the virtual. It is proof that he did not take the word in action. It's not a loss if it's not a bonus that has returned to your good deeds like bookkeeping. There's a lot to lose if you have your fragile if you get less. This is the asymmetry universal. The fragile package is broken by vibrating, nothing else. Vibrating antifragile benefits. If some are not loose, you are an antifragile only if you have only a we. If the upside is high, the downside is less than the volatility, i.e. the uncertainty will benefit you. Fragility means downside more, upside less, and antifragility means upside more, downside less. You may also suffer from the lack of stressors if the upside is high. This idea brings barbell method into practice. Barbell strategy means a side extreme safety plus secure boring investment, and the second side extreme risk is not a few of the very risky potential for huge upside beach. It comes in downside control, upside open stays. If you put everything in the medium risk, then the estimation can be eliminated when it is wrong. Maximum loss is fixed in barbell method. Antifungal means one side connection on the other side. Avoid getting worse. Good will be yourself. In every work where the risk is the dual strategy of extremes is better. The compromise of the middle is weak. Biology also has barbell strategy. Some animals suck the stable partner, accountants type, and sometimes beat the rock star type so that the stable life is even and the genes can be good or sometimes just for fun. The human society also has a pattern. Barbell's logic is to let children take a little risk, learn from a shorter sense, but avoid big deniers. People are often afraid of small losses, but the big black swan risks make ignore. Insurance also small probable take for losses. For large rear loss should not be reversed. Path is the dependence component. If one thing is fragile, once broken then it cannot be cured. Order of events is the important, not just the final point. That's why first delete the downside, then look upside. GDP growth or physics also majorize in the fragile system is useless as any big hobby can eliminate everything. Real progress is only when the growth is robust, not looking for speed and numbers. Keep the barbell's executive 90% money safe, put 10% in the risk. Maximum loss address. The upside is unlimited. The middle risk is most dangerous as he does not have accurately predict. It shows all things that have been done in antifragility. Downside control and keep upside open. Combining extremes. The middle solution is compromise that make the fragile. Barbell strategy means mix both safe and risky extremes. Make the golden middle of the middle amid as often the middle is the most weak. See in literature, French writers secure takes government job in which tension less yes. Then write in your free time with your own merger without any pressure. American writers are often trapped in media or academia that leads to their purifying soul dies as they have to follow other rules. Quite often worked in a Kife insurance company like famous writers. Spinoza lenses were maker, then wrote free on your idea. The job of the diplomat is also an exam. Work simple rest time, your work, your thinking. A lot of people make a safe career, then risky and creative work tries. As a friend was editor, then risky went to the field, but the editor's work could get back if failed. Seneca was also in the first active life, then became the first thing like the mountain, then do the reflection work. Do the same either short instances, then do not sit in the fullest day bore office. Prolific writer Simon writes just 60 days a year. The rest did not do anything 300 days. Yet more than 200 novels are written barbells everywhere. Avoid some risk in personal risk, daring in smoke, sugar, bikes and more. Where the terminal is not harem. Social protect the most vulnerable even in the policy. Let strong work. Overprotection of the middle's privileged middle class leads to harm to the society. People are most vulnerable. UK was barbell first. Adventures on one side, on the other hand, aristocracy. Now all the burdens have become bankers. Even in writing, absolutely simple essay or hardcore technical paper, nothing in the middle. Exercise is also barbell. Lift the heavy weight. Then no rest at all, let's stay a little bit. Greeks also crazy in the end of the party he did. The rest of the time lived. The middle bro most boring of the gossip magazine or classic book speech. If you have a problem with someone, either ignore or delete it directly. Do not quarrel the middle. Marble's point is that randomness gets antifungal as you clip your downside. Damage control. Upside open stays. Don't put all the money in finance into medium risk. Keep a side safe. Speculative on the other side. Rita Leo is the rule that any speculative bet is in which the risk of root is zero. Only the benefit of barbell is, do not drink a little bit on alcohol, do not drink a few days, drink the rest of the day. The body gets rest. Barbell does not mean investment returns. Survival is ensured. This option is not required. Stoicism tempts emulations. Barbell tempts the uncertainty. The focus of both is to avoid downside. Leave upside open. There are also domain dependencies. People take home insurance but do not apply barbell in the portfolio. While it should also think, the barbell strategy is applicable everywhere, whether it is a career, personal life, health, social policy, or finance. Avail the growth zone between the combinations of safe and risky extremes. That's real antifragility. Now let's talk about the option. Innovation and antifragility means you have options without a big risk to take advantage of the uncertainty. That's what makes anything truly antistatic. St. Thomas in his book Summa Theologia says that humans always move from the intention of another goal. That's all the way to plan everything the account is only. But this is the biggest mistake. That is the teleological spread in which the human being feels that he is aware of where he is going or others know what he wants. Actually, life cannot move. A rational planner can change his plan on every step. It is possible to take new decisions to see the resolution. Target can change when the information arrives. As Nero did in travel, the tourist fixed plan runs on the flanaver is open. He has freedom. Plan is the option to change. Opportunity in business or life is perfect on not in personal relationships. Loyalty is essential there. The biggest mistake is to think you know what you would like yesterday. Others don't know about their futures. Market research or focus group does not work. Steve Jobs had the strength that people don't know what they need until they get. Option means when you change, and hence the option brings antifragile. You get benefit from the uncertainty and the loss limited remains. The US. Real strength is the only option. Rick, try, fail, try again. Sharma. This open trial and error attitude brings new innovations, not a university degree. As time of industrial revolution took place in UK, when you see the story of the Thiels, all the people say that the Dars are successful. The journeys do just things. This took the option of the olive practice. For the season all pay already gave little money. The West grew up and the Ethels earned money. Then came back to philosophy. It was the first option trade. Small loss, large potential benefit without obligation. Asymmetry. The whole pure exam is more gain, low loss. The knowledge of the children of Aristotle came to work. Actually, the option worked. Option. You don't have to know everything you have when you have the option. Low risk, big upsides will earn more when right. Loss less or zero if wrong. Everything in life can be like option. You should know less where the choice is more. Risk is low. Financial independence is also an option. Highest level of freedom. Another thing in the story of the Thiels is that people often rush their failures. We didn't have any money, as in the story of citrus grapes. But the real option is only if we can do it in real, not in force. Option shows our own real references. Thales funded themselves. Independents got in options. They didn't tell anyone where they're going to be because they didn't know themselves. The power of the option is that free options can be found everywhere. As someone on the Saturday night in London called for the casualty party. Do you go? No obligation, nothing downside. Upside is that good party can get. This is called free option. Without cost, upside open, loss zero. If you live in a rent-control apartment in New York City, you have the option to stay there as much as possible. Be aware that there is no objection. Whether the landlord is shifted by notice. Whether you're sitting in a cheap rent. If the rent rises, you are safe. If the rent falls, you can visit or buy a new cheaper house. You don't have any harm from getting your rent benefit from falling on. This is the asymmetry with the option. Upside, know your downside. The greater the value of your option is, the higher your choice is. Every type of synchronization has the advantages of your safe, and it's a hidden option. It doesn't cost extra cost. The story of the Thiels is also of option and asymmetry. We always have nonlinearity in option. Maximum gain, low loss, or loss fixed. Meaning that if you have turned out to be right, then the little or no loss. Option doesn't matter the average. Just fall out of the favorite. Like writers or artists. They benefit more than small deadly audiences rather than a large average audience. No matter how many people dislike them, the complete game change can be done with a little lot of Lotus powerful supporters. There were very few followers to the philog like Eigenstein. He was influential. The business of luxury goods also runs from extreme to extreme. If some people are too rich, the rest of the poor will go to the business of the luxury because only extremes are quite. Real estate bubbles also come due to this. Some ultra-rich people rockets prices. Increased growth and growth in the society, but not in extremes, i.e., risk-takers, creatives who dare up. People are more important for the society, at least Everest. Philosophy also has two kinds of people. Aristotelian, i.e. logic right looker, who understands the tangent of viewer and the symmetry. Aristotle's mistake was to explain the knowledge and profit the same thing, while P-off and productions are different. Knowledge in option less asymmetry more is important. You don't always have to be intelligent, skilled, or knowledgeable if you have an option. You just escape from the wrong decisions and get the gab when you look good. Option property is low misinformation, some good outcomes, overall benefits. This is also a fund of evolution. Trial and error, small mistakes, big advantages. Nature also uses the same. Embryo removes it quickly. It is good to keep. Nature option makes us better understand the great result of no intelligence. Option means asymmetry plus rationality. Hold a good thing, leave a bad thing. Antifragile is an option in things, not in fragile. Nature stores better in every generation. Best picks from trial and error. This is the secret of antifragility. People in finance pay money to buy the explicit option, but the real life is hidden everywhere. We don't recognize. People understand the mathematically options, but do not consider the option to trial and error or small mistakes of life, while the same real is antifragility. Every error has cost limited. Rewards can sometimes be unlimited. Fat Tony also uses the same hidden functionality. We all have option blindness. If we have options in front of us, we will ignore them. The value of the options is invariability. When loss is low, the advantage is large. The option has a real power. Nature, business, finance, creativity works principle of all place options. But most people just see in textbook, not in life. One day, I was a friend who was first rabbi again become an option trader. Then again, he quoted a line life and long gamma. This means you benefit from the volatility changes uncertainty in life. There is no loss option. Long gamma in the language of trading means you can benefit from nonlinearity. Surprises can be in your favorites. A lot of acclaimers say that it's important to take options because they get more expensive, but they don't understand the reality of life. They think of casino like safe world. Real world does not have risk-taking gambling, and there is no functionality lottery ticket. Real wealth is formed from the authority. Real estate, technology, innovation has grown on the go of the option. Businesses like banking that don't have an option are over and over again. Option is not only in finance but also in politics. Romans made its political system tinker, trying the same thing, not a perfect resonant plan that has been adopted. Greeks made plans for thinking understanding. Romans took the best option from trial and error, and he learned to face difficulties. Everywhere is the asymmetry independent. Taking more upsides, less downside and options means you don't necessarily have knowledge. Just use the option right. Result will be found. More things in life come from the option, and not for that there is intelligence. This is the hobby for people who understand the education comes from love, or intelligent people discover it. Significantly, discoveries, inventions are either accidentally or by using the option. There is an exit of the wheeled suitcase. All people walking in the airport have picking up the suitcase, but one did not mind that put small wheels under the suitcase. Wheel in advance had been thousands of years ago. Put on the suitcase did not come to anyone. On the moon, the human beings reached, but they didn't have to be able to pull the attachment. This suggests that we are very vulnerable in imagery. We are not able to see if the symbol is in front. Just a few visionary people who understand the value of the option find the practical breakthrough. There are even more exogenous. Mines had wheels and they planted in their toys. Not used to use stone pulling in the pyramid. Greek had a steam engine. On just time passed for actual use later came. There are both different things, invention and application. Even after the invention, understanding the right use of the lock and the vision of the discus. A lot of discoveries are invented, unless a visionary is applied to them. Steve Jobs used the mouse and graphical interface in the computer. We use the laptop only today. The technologies that lead to the world are usually simple, such as wheel, bicycle, or car. Quite technology fails as it is fragile. Nature also returns to the simple and robust solution, like camel wheel was better than in desert. The more we try to understand and miss in a complicated manner, as simple as possible, meets real discoveries, practice, and simple observation, not from complicated theory. Governments and universities help less in innovation, as he just finds the complicated and news uniform thing. Simple work does not pay attention to anything. Simplicity does not get value, but the most work is done. Cleansed by the story of the theals and wheel, that anti-facilities, that trial and error and asymmetrical, i.e. upside is over downside, low pay based. Also above the intelligence. But a little intelligence is necessary. The most important is to understand that when you have an option, to take advantage of the better thing. Identifying the power of the option is real rationality. But there is no understanding in all. His practical use was very late after several inventions in history, as the Wheels exam or the concept of germs in medical science took 200 years to be exempted. Antisepsis and drug therapy also had several decades of gap. Doctors' old idea sticking on, healing like blood plating, while new ideas could benefit without any risk, when there is no risk in removing an old non-natural and harmful thing. Yet it's confusing and criminal. The real value of the trial and error is that he does not random. Every order with an option can become an investment, if you understand what works and what is not. When you lose something, you can find a new place where you don't see now. The next search is better. Treasure hunter Greg, the method of the stim is also based on the same. Every failed search is a learning and every trial improves the next resume. This is also in the logic oil, gas, natural resources, as the upside can be huge. When the trial and error is accompanied by an option, the randomness is tamped. The economist Counter spoke of creative destruction, meaning some old things will become new things only if broken. The system will be innovation, but he missed the core point of option and certainty, antifragility. Government or large organizations think that innovation is a straight line. Academia, science, technology, practice. But most of the innovations in life in real come from random tinkering, trial and error and practical experiences. Academic knowledge that meets books, grades, thirst, Harvey type, formal system is the limited role in real life. We overestimate this and underestimate real practical tested knowledge. Technology is usually defined that it is formed from the application of science, but it is very often reversed. First time the practice is then formed, then the same papers are written. Linear Baconian model, academia then applied science then practice. It works just in race cases, as the atomic bomb is the first random tinkering in the real loop, i.e. the trial and error, i.e. the anti-fragility, then the practical functions or heuristics, i.e. technology, then the apprenticeship, i.e. practice again tinkering back. Academic thirst mostly is dizziness in itself, disconnected from practical life. If there are fun of Harv and Nethology department talking about how the professors teach the birds to fly, then take credit when the birds fled. Books write that the birds fly because of us. Margars are actually flying without Harvard lectures. But when the bird's place comes to humus, we believe that the person can do everything from the education and lecture that is wrong. This is an illusion because those who writes are the same history. They have a confirmation bias. Take credit of what works. Those who fail will never record. Ever talked about the atrophic effect of the education, i.e. the harmful side effect? Soviet Harv illusion, i.e. lecturing birds on flying. This means that people think that the thing they look together is his regeneration. Just as birds fly, be sure that birds fly due to lectures. It is called epiphenomenon. Two things look together, so people assume that each other is due, while the reality is something else. As the ship's compass looks to see the compass ship is running, actual and the ship's direction shows. Research is seen in the developed country. People believe that the research has brought money, while the money may come before. Research has occurred later. People blame the grid when the crisis occurs. Say if remove the griddle then the crises will be eliminated, while the grid was always the system's freshness is new. This is the way to break the illusion. C. The sequence. Is it always before B? If you don't understand, the aggregation factor is. Very often the historians also make this mistake. Master pupils or cause effects make the relationship without the right additants. Just because some things look together. Compression bias or cherry picking is also part of the same. People just show the same exam that supports them. The rest ignore. As the country's tourist photo shows everything perfect, reality is different. Academia or research also highlights its success story. Ignore failures. Academic method works everywhere. Applications of mathematics are, but where the deaths fail or damages are not affected. Cherry picking has an option, showing upside of the story, concealing downside. The real world requires an intelligence of antifragility. Interventist people or universities don't have to say that they can do things without them. When the oil came to Dobby, he thought to call prestigious university. Put money on education, the society will be rich. But his money came from oil to equivalent. Inequivalent is not through education. It is also an AP phenomenon. For real progress, stressors, defects, i.e. anti-facilities are required. Sophistication or innovation of no problems as the village war is scattered. But after straggle became back and strong, meaning that people didn't move in. Enhancing education in the country will lead to economic growth. It is also the illusion. Studies show that the first money comes. After that the education level increases. Countries like Taiwan, Korea were first poor and unified. Afterwards retouched, then education all the conceptions grew. Literacy in Africa, but power also grew. Meaning wealth leads to education, not the honor way. Education is helpful for individual but not direct relationship at the level of the country. The real benefit of education is stability, continuity in middle-class family, not that GDP growth. Real education takes place at the party, talking to people, learning and real experience. Lomidized packaged education or just taking degrees is not knowledgeable. Scholarship and organized education are different things. Universities can create knowledge, but their impact is quite overhauled. People wrong cause make links. An advantage of education is that human being becomes a more cultured dinner partner. It is worth doing things. It is a new concept to create a tool to translate the education on it. Earlier education had a good human being, increasing value, learning for learning and not to earn gold or money. Entrepreneurs or techniques are not good dinner partners. It's not to make a thing. Many people think that if a person is cultured, he speaks well, he will be good in every field. Hello, the effect says. This is wrong. Good nurses or artisans often seem simples or confuses in speaking. Their ideas are not alleged and they are best. The bureaucrats are also selected on the basis of things as their work does not have an objective result. Green parallax refers to the incorrect knowledge that we understand the important and ignore the real important thing. Example is a successful trader that coincided with green pending, thinking on that pending paint is applied. Actual in green lumbar mean fresh wood. He had an expert in the trade but did not know that. Yet in the profit. On the other hand, the man who read the grand theories went to loss. The reality is that people working in the market evolution or the real world are not integrated with exams or theory knowledge. They have practical things that can make outsiders look useless. When I came into derivative training, the thought of finance, traders, economics, geopolitics will be aware of all. On reality, they were normalized in simple street smart, not more read. English did not even speak standard. Many people could not tell Switzerland on the map. Yet there were big traders' cores earned. There were more basic cocky people in London. I felt shocked to see all your education waste started. Then explain that the price and reality's relationship is not simple. He comes from practically, not from theory. The story of Fat Tony also shows the same point. When all the analysts of Gulf War were speaking that oil price will increase from the war, Fat Tony did not even know the location of Iraq. But she common sense used on. If all the supplements are expanding, it will be in the expectation already price. Oil price has been halved when the war started. Tony made 3,18 million. The rest went to loss even by practicing the war as they missed the basic thing. Oil and Kuwait bean is not a thing. Tony saw upside much, downside less, and the same is the biggest lesion. This is the not the same thing, i.e. confliction problem. People think that two connected things are the same, while they have a relationship complex or a default. If you have an option, it can identify the defense. As the Jim Simons top quant traders don't hire the economist as they don't want to see the pattern and the internal logic. Ariel Rabenstein Fasness economist also says that the practice is not direct from theory. The policy should not be made on the case may give the institution. The big point is that the relationship of natural and practice is in the option. The work that it works is a simple antifragile payoff. And irony is that from school, universities, education we have the functionality forgot to see. What is the value in real life? He doesn't see. The Greek story had two brothers. Prometheus, who thought to see the future, brought fire, and the Epimetheus that thought after all it was opened the box of the Pandora. The irreversible loss has been like the option Prometheus. You could not revamp the loss if the risk moves some new. The upside big downside has become a small mistake. But the net, i.e. making the story later, is like the epithesis. If you have been mistaken, you can't come back. Option Thames uncertainty is. Narrative makes you a slave of uncertainty. It is the biggest mistake to make the future a copy of the past. The difference in thinking and doing. Theory and practice is different. Intellectuals think. Theory is everything. It is the most powerful to take trial and error, tinkering, practical risk in real world. Knowledge is two types. Formal, i.e. classroom, textbook, and fat tone type, i.e. street smart risk picker, trial and error learner. Antifragility, practical risk taking, barb straightness, low downside, large upside. This is based on. That's what tough complex works in the world. Tinkering and trial and error also has a negative, but it is not necessary to stick to that negative. Advice of grandmothers such as Granny. Reliability stories or rule of thumbs that do not seem logic but are working from generation. He is the evolutionary wisdom in the eccentric. There is no humus of the universal idea. Those who are servicing, think of him, do his spiritual survey. So the grandmother has worked much more than the business school. Experts get frizzy when they make yourself more intelligent, know everything they think. The more you think you know, you are wrong. The more you are in the risk. Make sure you don't know all. You are safe. We said earlier that classroom education doesn't come from the will. Education comes from wealth. it is also an illusion. The same comes from the real innovation and growth anti-fragile risk-taking practice and trial and error, not from organized research or theory. The artisan is powerful, but we underestimate the power of the right decision at random chance practice and the right time. History also writes mostly lugers or non-practitioners. The real world does not work. Just right, think. So the true story of the cause-effect, theory, practice, innovation in the history appears wrong. It is quite often formed later. When a practice is worked, there is an exam that derivatives did not know Schickig's trader's complex formula in trading. But the price, the risk all set from practical thinking. Academics that later convert to formula and take credit. Option priming, jet engine, medical innovations all happened in practice in the field first. Afterwards the thirst remained. But academia claims that the first was thinner than practice. Another problem is that when academics or historian story writes, he gives the natural shape that the theory came to work. Practice came later. Traders, engineers, artisans who work in real world really find something new before. Afterwards, it is written. In the real world, there is no tiring from the cur. Engineers and builders are looking at the job that there may be large innovations even without think and science. Actually, innovations occur from trial and error, practical experience, and master-apprentice style. Afterwards, the thirst comes to expelling it. As the jet engine was made without the therapeutic understanding first tinkered, worked. Afterwards, academic theory cybernetics was also in practice in the engineering world. Afterwards, the whiner made the tidy. People understand that everything has come from his heart. Geometry and the maths were also written after the elements use of Euclid. The first practice was getting news. Then the formal was created. The engineers who made cathedral or buildings in Middle Europe did not know the maths. Just things learned from rules, tricks, and master used to use. Yet their built buildings are robust to date. Romans made aqueducts without maths as their system was based on trial and error and experience. While more people from the mouth make the facile by optimizing over. The exam of cooking shows that option is the most instant in practical work. Add new ingredients. If you feel good, don't let it remove. The recipe is available from the trial and error of the masses. No formal theory. Just the apprenticeship is based on experience and feedback. The medicine is also actually on the unprincipitation and observation. A little background thinner comes from real knowledge, exemplary, and practice. Evidence-based medicine is also more cataloging and observation based on not pure theory. Some real fields like physics in this case, the productions come, just as Einstein's relativity or Higgston. But this is exemption. Most complex systems do not have to tinker from the work table. Also use the computer. The first tidy bunny, then make the computer. We did not know what you will do on. Then came word processing. Then internet. Then social networks. All this happened from random trials, chance, and tinkers. Science just gave the base. No direction. Watch China case. Spinning machine as long as people were tinkering, but when system top down and when the bureaucratic happened, the culture of tinkering ended up just collecting the knowledge, the practical things stopped making that the industrial revolution took place in Europe as there was a culture of the tinker trial and improv in China, not industrial revolution, and the new inventions came due to the mainly hobbit people in the English press society. Rectors who worked for free time in their merges without any ascetic pressure. These people worked with secure life, home, food, and free time like Thomas Bass, Thomas Malthus, and many more rectors made inventions and discoveries. Direct impact was low on technology of academic science without any university or academic direct involvement. After the university, national wealth, the strong was not earlier. Hobby, science, tinkers, and private investors made real innovations such as steam engine or textile machines. It came from trial and error, not from science or theory. That only showed that the government invests less when it puts more money on research and innovation slow gets like in Japan. The main source of industrial revolution was tinkers and doers, and not professors or theorists. There was an inverted relationship of the theory and practice. The first invention occurred after the period came. Academic people also took credit of several events which were actually created by the people of the field. The pattern of payoffs in research and innovation is that a big discovery covers everything. That's why the right policy is to give more and more small amounts to different people so that every option has a chance. Because winner is unpredictable. Venture capitalists also put money on people, not on idea, and make no fixed plans. The right approach is to give money to aggressive tinkerers that can milk options. The research in medicine also takes much of the syrup and accidental discovery, not from planned or targeted research. Cancer drugs or other major medicines mostly came from the discovery of random chance or any other field. Direct impact of government or academic research is less on medicines. Private industry has made more drugs. A lot of medicines, black SN style, i.e. found in unexacted ways. The model of designer drugs does not work as side effects and interactions are unpredictable and the process of making drugs is becoming more complex. Al-Ghazali gave FM as example pin. It takes 25 people to make a pin and all without any central planar. As invisible hands are running, no single person can make full pin. The real knowledge of the individual is not possessed by the human but with God or the nature. Adam Smith, also invisible hand to market, said, both mean that the system is running itself and there is no knowledge of the entire process to any of the individual. The Angzimal of matter ridge biology says that the collocation has a large power. Exploitation of growth occurs when the idea is mixed. A plus 1 equal is not 2 but several times higher. How will it be? Well, no one can predicate, so the world's future is unpredictable. The best way to make the environment so that the collocation becomes easier on the centrally innovation control may not be, as Russia traveled failed. This is also the effect of release. Accept human limits. Leave on God or nature. The corporations is a strategic planning pay fund. The evidence shows that the strategic planning does not work much. Massively pseudoscience has emerged from management theory tyrannism to productivity. The real progress of business is from drift chance and opportunistic changes. Coca-Cola was the first medicine. Tiffany's stationery store, Nokia paper mill, DuPont explosives, Avon book sales, Otis silversmiths was a cult group. All of them separated from their original plan. This means not a business real growth plan, but an accidental and a morphological. Now talk about the inverse Turkish problem. The things we do not see in the past data can also be positive in the antifragile systems or negative also in the fragile systems. As if Carlo did not get slim in the sample to understand Mexico's wealth will go wrong as the rare event, i.e. slim retouching overpowers everyone. There are small losses in the inner file or black SN essays. Sometimes there is a big win that doesn't look at the data, so people underestimate. Similarly, frizzy things have a big loss on data does not appear. People cannot understand. Harvard Business School professor spoke on biotech that more companies are not making profits, but not a potential. But the extremist or black swan does the rear event dominate in the world. 1 or 2 companies earn a huge profit that does not appear in data. Similarly, another professor at the insurance companies took out the wrong convulsions as the rear does not look in the catastrophic loss data. The same big event on can ruin everything. Firstly, rank everything as an option. Give more value to the options. Find the second open-ended payoff options that do not limit the profit. Thirdly, don't invest on business plans in any business or work, but on such a person invest in which 6-7 times have changed or changed their lives. For this people are surveyed, adapted. This is also an approach to venture capitalist. Fourth, always follow marble strategy. Mean extreme safe and extreme risk mix. Modify the middle. The society has undervalued the people who learn from the trial and error of Eric's, i.e. the doors. He spoke to Sharon, just because they did not write the formal theory or books. Official medicine always unknowns empirics. They showed an illegal or low class as their income fell due to compression. But reality is that Eric's trial and error tinkering and street knowledge gave considerable crusts and remedies in modern medicine that academics also copied silently. Academics concealed their froths in the cover of rationalization. The work of empirics was benefited to the aquatic people. Not every non-exemplary cub is, and the academics can also be organized cubs. Classroom skills or girls, i.e. game-like skills not transfer to life. Chase's skills chase board works only, not in real life. The classroom learns to stay there. Real world does not have translations. Sometimes there is damage. As a child, simple intervals are also mistaken after arithmetic learning. While without arithmetic, they take the right number. Children's natural randomness, biophilia, adventure, and antifragilities are eliminated from the soccer culture or modern education structure. Children just become good students from structure learning. Don't handle ambition or real-world problems on search. Real freedom is just the autodidacts, i.e. own learners. Whether it is in school or in life, randomness, adventure, self-discovery makes it worth living all life. While the preset structured appointment is base life fact and false. Lions live in the jungle. His life is heavier than unpredictable adventure, while the life of lions with captivity is long and safe. Unreal fun is missing. Sunica also says we read for the lecture room, not for life. Policymakers or structured bringing more rationality. One who promotes life makes the world more unpredictable. Because randomness try to squeegee. I have never been confident of standardized education as I studied myself. I was pure autodidact. My sin was a top student in Lebanon, despite taking the degree. Everyone called the intelligent student, but he did not give himself much value to the school, and his son also. I did not even send it to that elite J-Suite school. That's why I'm not the same tolerant who he had. People who are top in school real life is not always happy, but some people who are at the bottom in a class turned out to be super successful in business or politics. So I was curious for my self-knowledge. Study out of school curriculum and reads itself of purchase from books library. Students with school just take syllabus rut. On the real knowledge, the syllabus comes out. The school just selects those who can pay attention to boring and fixed tasks. But that doesn't handle a little funginess and uncertainty in the real world. Real on making muscles on gym machine like don't work in life fight. Students with high grades are sharp in structure environment. On the real world there are a few challenges. My way was to read the minimum as it passes in the exam. Keep the rest of the focus on your curiosity. Read random trial and error. Once the book is bored, leave it immediately. Take another pick. Because reading should take free and effortless. Don't have fun. Follow this method still. Evidence of bodom is everything. I merged away from school syllabus, reads authors, philologs, navals, keeps daily target of reading hours, and all that was taught in the school forgot. He who reads himself so far remembers. When there is an interest in finance and probability, just study the entire intentivity, without any course or formal syllabus, and it got real from random deep curiosity. Real treasury is always outside the curriculum. Fat Tony had a view that he justifies to kill Socrates. The defense is that there is two types of knowledge. One is narrative intelligent knowledgeable. The second is the knowledge that can't be expelled by the opaque thinker. The biggest mistake is that we assume unattainable things. Understand the meaning that you do not understand. While a lot of things that work in the real world are not worth understanding. As a result of the Antifragile of Socrates, in which Socrates confuses the frontis frequentization, does not end up asking, as some of the concepts such as PT's pavement may not be found, and maybe the discussion lasts today. This means everything in words, defining or explaining and tying words possible, but this does not mean that the thing is useless or does not work. There are people who have both Fat Tony and Socrates. Both are fond of talking. Parfait Tony's approach is different. Socrates run behind the definition. Everyone wants to understand the conceptuality and only the definitions are knowledgeable. Fat Tony says that everything is not necessary to define in words. Everything does not fit into the language. Just as the baby drinks the mother's milk without having to go to the definition, or Cutter makes the loyalty from his owner defined without honor. Fat Tony says that nothing we can feel or can do is not need to worry about it. Socrates want to fix everything that means. While Fat Tony says we lose the magic and real understanding of the things that might not be expelling. Fat Tony Socrates speaks you're confusing people who have their natural instincts or traits without breaking them. Socrates' logic is that we can't understand anything without definition and always have to think and argument. Parfait Tony speaks that you are snatching their ignorance from people and they are sniffing on things that he is following without a problem. That's why you're distracting life's simpliness in the name of so-called knowledge. The philosophy Socrates began to focus on the theory and conceptual knowledge sense, which just assumes things worth writing or expelling and put the practical field-based or institutional knowledge on the side. Nature also had criticized Socrates. That I do not understand. No. Everything is not necessary to be explainable. Some things are out of indirect understanding but are still intelligent or valuable. Nature says that the Apollonian, i.e. the reason control balance, and the Dionysian, i.e. wild creative instinct is both the important. Life becomes dry without a Dionysian. Knowledge and progress are not just from the rationality. Some of the things come from randomness, cows, and instinct that ignore thinkers like Socrates. Seneca also says human nature has the instinct, strength, and regeneration. 3. Structure, learning, and philosophy always finds simple and clear expressions. So let's ignore the ninth and real-world complexity. That's why it's still valuable when the practical world works. Idea is that we lose real irons, instincts, and practical working knowledge in trying to define, explain, or rationalize everything. That makes sense even without words. Fat Tony says that the Socrates' fault was that he was destroying the system. When all was running fine, people, transactions, instincts, and unspokens were running life from the rules. All things may not be expelling in words. And when the coercion exalted, the real humanity of man kills. Very often people focus on the right thing, but they don't know how it's still working. Socrates was created hero because he was stuck on his thinking. But some people believe that the bases of the Socrates society are breaking. The things that we get from elder are wrong to qualify them without understanding. Catu the elder, a practical and traditional loving man Socrates did not like, says Socrates are eliminating democracies and customs. Old people advised to avoid rationalism as incomplete knowledge is the most degenerative. After thinkers like Edmund Burke och Joseph de Maistre used to value all trades, the trader has active filtered knowledge, keeps the society stable. Diogenstein says that everything does not come in word. Some things may not be expressed. Hack said that the knowledge of the society is hidden in the transaction of the market. On the option not understood, Lev-Strauss shows that traditional non-literate societies also follow their holistic science, which is not less than any of the modern science. John Gray, Enlightenment considers illusion, says that the progress of science is also sometimes just a cheat. The real thing for Fat Tony is true or false, but not sucker or non-sucker. Life has more exposure, risk or rewards, no knowledge. The most important is the disadvantage you get, not just logical truth or lie. Desire is never always on probability, conscience says go for. As airports check everyone, the loss of terrorism is huge. Whether the chance is low, people don't sit as loss hue is when the pin crashes 1%. I.e. in life we always see fragility and not probability or true or false. This is like the problem green lumbar spreadsheet. People think that there is an event and its exposure being actually difference. Predictors always try to prompt the event. Personality smartness exposure isn't changing. Trading societies and releases handle this thing better. There is no proof of the people who talk about the great things of the university and organized research. Their thinking does not have option or second order effects, so their things are incomplete. Education has become a status symbol nowadays. Harvard or Stanford is now like a Louis Vuitton bag. The middle class parents buy by spending their savings, but the society does not get a perfect advantage. Student lions are also squeezing the system. That's all like a scram not long. Time and history exposes everything, and the facile systems are always broken. My whole life is focusing on hidden non-linearities, i.e. everything in life does not move like a straight line. The effect does not increase as much as possible when the intensity or quantum increases. It is non-linearity. I wrote in my first book, Dynamic Hedging Ethic. I thought it could be used outside the method finance, but that time was not clear. When finance academics rejected my book from different reasons, I understood that some maybe knew when all people refuse different regeneration. That's the antifragility. After that my interest shifted slightly, and then the public life and the media fed up again and again hot meditated solitude, and then I realized that non-linearity works everywhere. The Poshling cup is an exotic. The cup wants it to not be broken. He needs peace because he does not like shocks or variability. Meaning fragile things are always afraid of volatility. Because a big hobby is more than a small multiple shock damages. There is also a story. King promises to kill his son a big stone, but later he kills the son of a small piece of stone. So the harem decreases. Here it makes sense that the damage of the same big shock is very high, compared to multiple small shocks. This is non-linearity. I tell you a simple rule. Fragile things tend to be as much as the shock is, and this relationship is not straight. If the car hits the cover at 15 miles from the wall, the damage hits 10 times 5 m-pass occurs. Drink 7 bottles a day will worsen than drinking a bottle every day. Dropping a cup from a foot will damage more than falling 1 inch to 12 times. The effect of total small shocks is always lower than a large shock. That's real fragility. Fragility is nonlinear due to this. Because if the heart is linear, the smallest shocks are broken down. But things in real life make small shocks tolerate and break into a big shock. Similarly, black swan events, i.e., extreme rare events, are the most deniers for fragile things. There is a reverse of the fragile. There is a greater advantage over the big shock. The ignition of weightlifting that raise 100 pounds once gives more benefit than lifting 50 pounds twice. That is when the benefit or harem in cruise is non-linear, the anti-fragile or fragile where appears. This simple curve and non-linearity are apply on everything. Medical errors, government size, innovation, uncertainty, everything. Real wisdom is that non-linearity understands and how things react to short shocks and big shocks. Identify it. Non-linearity is of two types. Concave means the inside, as the said face is frizzy, and the convex is on the outside side. As the smiley face, it is anti-frizzy. When the upside of something is more than the downside, the graph will be the convex. And when the downside is too much, the concave would like to fry. Convexity effects mean when you benefit more than a fluctuation, and concavity effects mean you have more harm than a fluctuation. So happy with a fluctuation with convex occur. Conclave are filled with sorrow. Conclave is a lot of harems than a frizzy black SN or a large unexacted shock. Not as much as a small variable. As much as possible, conct meets the big hobby. It gets into real-life efficient traffic. The traffic of New York is low in the morning, but as soon as the number of carriers grows a little after a point, travel time suddenly increases a lot. No matter when a little bit grows, when threshold crosses on every extra car, travel time to disproportionate increases. This is nonlinear concave effect. Similar systems that are over-optimized, such as airports, railways, collapse at a slightly higher load. Understanding this is the instant as working on the maximum capacities can turn the small problem into a very large loss, and the Prince moment is applied everywhere. Cities and companies are small, but not just size. Is nature also changes more is different. Make a big city of small towns, then totally defaults will come to, and it is not a simple addition to the small space. That's why the balanced miles is not as correct, because when we eat from the same nutrients regularity every day, there is no hard benefit as the variability and the fasting or the feasting cycle, because the biological response is also nonlinear, and the exam is the same. Two people travel at same distance same time, a slow walks, a chills and sprints in the last. Both have an average speed being. On sprint the taxpayer gets more health benefits as health gains are convex with speed. If you're a bit fast, you'll get more benefits. I believe that the logic behind small is boful is that the little things are less fragile. The big size system can have a big trouble with randomness or shock as the concavity becomes higher. It is therefore the main tool to take the decision and risk in the real world to understand what the convexity or concavity smiley or said face in everything. When a person does not have any KWA left and immediately someone work, whether it's expensive, it's called sequence. Just think you have to go to Argentina and Germany, book cheap flights. If you have to take the second flight on the last moment due to a problem, it has to spend money in force. This is squeegee. Growing size makes squeeze even more dangerous and the cost increases non-linearly. If you have a cat or cottage in the house, there is no cost in the stress time. But if the elephant has been placed, the lack of water or resources will take your watt. Because every single gallon water price increases, the bigger size means the more hidden risk that we don't understand. That's the same in business. Large corporates or mergers look subsufficient, but in the stress time, their fragility comes out. Data shows that the company does not benefit due to large size. Friend-type companies like large boxes are more fragile. As the case of Societe Generale Bank was taken, they have to sell $70 billion in one day, $6 billion, as they don't have the option to weigh was all right away. There is no major loss if the same thing happens in small banks. So the lesion is that a larger stone will damage much. At the same time, the weight nets will do small losses that are manageable. Also see in project management such as bridges or dams that are formed in one piece increases the risk of dill and cost. On the road that is formed in pieces it reduces the risk. Similarly, large supermarkets or superstores can revive the area. The entire area will be dead if he stopped. Small shops there is no risk. Exit also has an exit. In the movie theater if fired and all people are participating together, more people will try to exit together so some people can die as every extra man makes damage much larger. This is the same in the event of flights. Plane does not reach as quickly as possible. The signs of deletion are always high. Time may not be negative. That's why the effects of unsurprising or shock come from one side. More lying occurs. Not quick. Projects always time increases with uncertainty, not less. The projects were small and simple in the first deposit. Parts were locals, so halus was low. Now is the system complex. Interdispensation, pressure of the efficiency, the use of the height has increased nonlinear risk everywhere. So, dill and damage are more likely to occur. Psychology is blemished in the name of the planning fellow. On real problem is in nonlinearity. Nowadays projects always take much time from complexity, size, interconnectedness. If you have an early compliant, the almost is the impossible. Anywhere the size increases in the dizziness of optimization or efficiency, the risk of both squeeze and losses increases. In both World War I and II, the countries thought that the war will last a few months. As long as France, the UK landed 10 times more debt. Many were spent more than what was thought. Iraq is also the bean case of war. Intel esteem was the real cost on $306 billion exceeded $2 trillion. Because indirect cost chains move towards reaction, even when the system is complex and is inimitable exploit. The larger the cost over the military, the larger the dispersion. This is not just a war scene. Nearly every large project of government has an underestimate. Cost control does not occur. So don't rely on handling money on the governance. There is no need to spur the government. Always stay on physical balance. The affinity of nowadays can also be really dangerous. Because when the system is frizzy, the cost of a small mistake becomes huge. As traders replaced in the stock market, when if the computer failed, the market crashed. As the case of Knight Capital that lost a minute at $1 million. No cost-benefit analysis also gets denser with size. France opted for clean thinking of nuclear energy. But after Fukushima disaster, they had to put extra money into safety features, which was not the condenser in the initial calculation. When the squeegee comes, you have to spend anything in the fortress. The disadvantage of the poles is also non-linear. There is nothing to do with a little pollution, but more than a result of the ecosystem gets. Therefore, diversify the poles. Keep small sources. Don't do more than one place. Ansys people like Elite Trib Pro switched on the finish of the resource. The second resource is used so that the ecosystem was balanced. Today all people concentrate on the same thing because of globalization, which is raising the burden on the Platon. The shortage, price spike, and extension occurs when everything goes through the same thing. Wealth is also non-linear. More money doesn't just comfort. Unpredictability and problems go. The risk delay and unpredictability in a project worth $100 million is multiple times higher than a $5 million project. GDP growth also has side effects. More money means more complexity, more rewards. Concluding is that fragility comes due to nonlinear effects in every domain, be a cup, organism, system, country, or any project. The loss of nonlinear damage, i.e. the same hobby, is several times higher than the total loss of small doubts. Discovery benefits from unpredictability. Hey, Fragile is a posit. Randomness is born. It is the simpler to detect fragility that if a little change in the system makes you normal, a little more change damages a lot. The system is fragile. As a fund maze risk report is on the top of the economy variable, every step is on loss and more. If the profit comes down, the profit is lower. This was the signal of concave curve, so the company was to be busted. The traffic system will increase if the travel time is too fast and the same traffic is fragile. SEM logic deficit also applies to profit loss of the company in government borrowing. Loss acclimate occurs when there is a slight drop in sales or economy. My real specialty is to understand the error in the model. When I was in the transaction work, it was very often mistaken, as the thought of buy 1,000 units went wrongly by 2,000. If the price went up, then the profit went down, then the loss. But such errors can be both sides, so the long run gets neural. And because every single transaction small, error also remains small. What is fragile is the effect of negative convexity, meaning the damage from the error or Derbers occurs on one side. There is no benefit. Plain is more lay land, not quick. War is worse, not good. Disturbance of traffic increases travel time, no less. This is the regeneration of underestimating forest sidiness, air and damage, as the probability of damage is high and the benefit is low or zero. Even if the randomness comes from both sides, you have a higher loss. Reduce profit. That's why the logic of the trade is simple, that some of the things like the distance, as the evolution discovery contains some neutrals and some damages such as forecast, travel time, deficit. Airlines didn't get governments on the buffers and solve this price. This method is applied everywhere. In small probability, it is also a Fukushima disaster. Changing a bit of aggregation in the calculation can lead to probability 10,000 times. Even when the model brings a small change, big effect, the acceleration occurs. Let's understand that the middle is fragile. As the case happened in the Fanny, modelers get blew up from the black swan event, meaning most of the economic units in the studies of econometrics are useless. Just have schlantism. Fragility always lie frizzy. Another concept is average means nothing happens in frizzy things. As if the river has an average depth of 4 feet, there is 10 feet in the middle, crossings can sink. Or to put the grandmother on the average temperature 70 degrees F. But if a centered gyro pay and the second centered 140 pay is 70, from the work done on the grandma, meaning the fragile places average in things. Variability damages. This is the negative convexity effect, meaning curve is inside. Response is not linear. The more nonlinearity as average waste and stability. The simplest model that shows the average becomes the Procustion bed shows and harms the synchronization. Philo travels is a property like stone. The option that has the option or the convex payoff gets the edge in answerity in long term. Mean if your function average of function is always higher than function of average. For example, dies pay 1 to remove 6. Then square it with the result. Once you've done every number, you'll get rid of the results. That is the hidden benefit of the convex function. The more anesthetic alternative benefits. Reverses from the corresponding logic to the fracture or concave function. Average of the function decreases to avoid damages that must be more than function of average, meaning to serve in the fragile system for. There is a lot to be correct and the loss will be caused. There are a lot of things that we understand without the name, as there was no name of blue before, yet people watched blue. Similarly, the concept of antifragility worked without the first word. The system itself surveyed without defining it. There are a lot of important things in the world that do not have a direct express in terms. Just understand the indirectly. When you can't do direct dis, we can say what's not. This is called via negative, as in chronic theology occurs. Do not disassemble God. Just tell what the God is not. How did Michelangelo ask how to make David's statue? He removed what David did not, meaning the real thing came out of subtraction. Barbell logic is also based on the same. First remove reconciliation and see the rest. Sharon will always give positive advice. Say something. Step by step will form. Like 10 steps for success. What do not do real pro people think in negative? What to use? Grandmasters win Kais. Escape from the wrong move. People in business become rich when they are not ruined. The release also celebrates the mostly things. What is the greatest learning of life? Often saves the same thing is to derive. Knowledge is also subtractive. What is the biggest knowledge that is wrong? What to do? Don't be able to become the biggest formula for being an antifragile in life. Remove as much as possible. Identify your mistakes. Do not fall into the dizziness of the Platonic abstraction form, but remove what is wrong. Understand the world. Negative knowledge is much robust. Positive knowledge is more error-prone, because the things that have been proved wrong may not be corrected back. The right thing you think can go wrong. That's a black swan-looking instant. All SNS are white. It lies. It's not proof that all the whites are all. To prove misconception. More powerful than condensation. Science is also based on the same. An incorrect experiment can break the old tidy. This was the same as Popper's philosophy on the idea, even more old. The best system in politics is to remove the bad man and not just bring new good people. Bad man can harm much. So it's best to stop mischief. Use via negative in life that is wrong. Wrong people, wrong things, wrong habits, wrong relationships. Remove everyone. Steve Jobs also say that the real focus is not to speak on Jesus. Remove the 1,000 options that are wrong. The same is the biggest innovation. Barbell logic is also subtractive. One side pay total safety, on second side collect risk. Always avoid wrong things. Reduce subtractive knowledge, remove the wrong. The same is the most safe, robust, and antifragile. What is less is more's idea is very powerful in decision making. Simple methods such as small rule of thumbs, i.e. fast and frugal heuristics work. Also good from the complicated method. Specialty when time, data, or resources are low. When the rare event has a greater effect, focus it. Ignore the rest. The solution of very problems is simple. One of two big steps, or one pay attention to points. Don't get into small details. The real price will be discounted. 80,020 rule also says 20% of the effects have resulted in 80% of the relapse and now more uneven. 1% of the people have everything, 1% of the most matter. That's just a little bit of change in the system. 99% of the fragility can be removed. If you are looking at work, some people make a problog. Some people bring revenue. Focus on them. Overload of data is also dangerous. More data distribution. When the road cross is torn in front of you truck, or don't just see the same. There is no advantage of the eye coloring of people. There are also suspect confidence in science like physics. Statisticals are less common. On economics, political science, there was no practical work here. There is a lot of statitis. The real thing is that black SN events overturn everything and they can't be practicable. So no means complicated statics. Don't do if you have more than one regeneration to do something as you're trying to convey yourself. A regeneration is considerable if the decision is correct. This is the way to make simple decision making. Time and frizzly is a more strang. The new thing is more frizzy. Time tests all. The frizzy which is broken. The same is real that the technology will look even longer. New things are just fashion. Real work time shows. What's old is the hidden purpose that we don't understand. New things bring unnecessary fridge lines. New mania speaks of it. The best way to predict the future is via negative. Remove what you do in the future. Those who have frizzy will finish. Just pay attention to this. Positive predisposition is more important to think about what will not last. As poets said, time swallows everything, the strongest things. But anti-fragile things are surveyed by time. So look at the time whether it is ticking, and the most frizzy things will go out before. Short-term predictions are always wrong, but in the long term there is a certainty that is the black SN prawn will be removed. Whenever people make a future image they think that today's base is taken. Add new things to it. But in reality, most of the activities prove wrong. What are the most important in our life? As the internet, the wheel or condom of the suitcase did not ever come into the production of anyone. Things that have been for thousands of years like shoes, chairs, fire, glass, wines, cheese, silverware are still getting the same usage. And our daily life is running on these old technologies. When you go to a dinner, we eat as old as possible. How old tools, the older the deposit was in. People over-technologize the future. Let's think everything will be hypermodern. On reality, the old tools take much. Most investment and effort equity goes to Putin or improving old technologies, not making new things. Just as the bicycle's exams are made more than the bicycle's car, it is less of attention. Condom-like things are becoming more and more invisible so that their effects are not visible. Problem is that we underestimate old things while predicting and new ones overestimate. We put your time caps or your desire on the future. What ticks in the world in the aquatic is the small, unsung, almost invisible things. The new technology of every generation also lasts as long as it is solving an old price or removing any waste. Good technology is the best when he invisible himself. Show off without making life easier. Respect literature and history. To understand the Old Testament, advice of elders and the simple rules of thumbs. The real way to understand the future is museums, old books, and old art. Understand the properties of the future and not the slides of techno conferences. Technology itself sometimes becomes better to remove its old version, as of the first huge of cat-ironing and engineering ads. Now again become such shoes as the bare feet real natural style. Tablets are also a group of computers. In a way, we began to write again on the tablet, as was written in Babylon. Now the technology mends itself, i.e. subtractor becomes. Then a technical point will end up perishable things like a human or a car will die. Non-perishable things like technologies, idea, books, content of genes, information he surveys, and that's the main point of the latch effect. The greater the chance of serving what is older. A 80-year-old technology can survey more than 10-year-old. That's why it's more confident of what's time-tested things that are perishable. Save as much time as possible as human beings are saved. As a man is 40 years old, his age-life exposure will decrease every year. But non-completable things like an old book, classic card, or technology, as much as time surveyed increases the chance of ticking in the future. If a book is in print for 40 years, the next is 40 years and the chance of living. And if he booked 10 years and surveyed, then it will last for 50 years, i.e. old things are reverse edge. The older the tyke will be. That's what astrong is. Vinner tech all effects. Many people tend to condense this idea. The first confusion is that every technology or thing does not apply. If a technology is dead like a landline phone, that obviously will not go. The principle is that the chance of serving which has been surveyed so far is even higher in the future. The rest that was worth dying died ality. The second confusion is that people think that it is young to undo new things or technology and keep old. That's not really. Technology physical is not an information. He aged like human no. Will be old but he does not spoil. Most new ideas are facile, so don't stick much. Here is also a mental bias. We listen to the success story when we see someone earning money in the stock market. Failures hide. Similarly, in naval writers or technology, we see what was surveyed. That's why what's good is the same ticks. But in reality, most new things fail. The second bias that we notice the change much, not static things, as water should be every day. On we new cell phone, the model gives more value as the variant is visible in it. The effect of nomina is that we run behind new things. Every time the new model looks out is outdated, but the change is small. Mosley Cosmetic is called the treadmill effect of this. Buy new, get a little boost, then it would seem like to be old, then should be new. But the classic art does not happen in old furniture or artcraft things. Their fun is not short with time. We focus on the difference in electronics. On real fun physical books, old pens is in handmade things that take the artigrade touch. Handmade things are more helpful. The treadmill effect is low and the facile is also lower. That's why what's old, classic, and artisanal, his value is more and he's more ticked. Today's architects and planners look very similar to making new things. That makes a newness or nomina come everywhere. Modern buildings are not much facile that falls quickly. So when once a boring or awkward building becomes, he sticks like a taller around us is. The project in urban planning is that the top-down design, i.e. the top-down design does not reverse the city, structurally created. If you have been mistaken, then it is stuck. On the bottom up, i.e. gradually changing the locals according to this city has a chance to make a mistake in things are natural pavilions, which is natural growth. As forests, trees, or old towns have fractal patterns in them. Small details are repetitive. As the tree branch looks like a small tree, jagged uneven, but pattern detail gets everywhere in nature. Modern buildings, mostly smooth and boring, have grown. They do not get fractal readiness. All the dead looks. Gaudi's buildings is an exemption in Barcelona. He is inspired by nature, filled with details. If you think you've come to the Kiev, at modernism later it eliminated richness. Everything became smooth and simple, and it sounds empty and strange. The fun of writing yourself also comes when there is a front tree or a wild garden or a perfect plain white walls. Sometimes modern architecture meets with dictatorship, and then even worse occurs. As Sucek in Romania gave the high rise of the traditional village break, the hands of unnatural buildings are also considered behind the imperent rights in France. The activist, like Jane Jacobs, fought against this urban phenomena. He said the city should stay on the ground level on the pavement. Believes the life of large highway and building city. The best place in the city is where things are left out old. The most expensive place in Paris is the same that escaped from the houseman's redemption. Cities of villages moving way, not from abstract paintings. Why does the jam in London think? Because people want to stay there and have a stretch in the city. There is no hobby to buy a perfect blank city like Brazil. Buildings also mute with time. Changes. Options should be designed in order to adjust in the future. The Stewart brand has shown in how buildings learn that the buildings also evolve. Some modern ticks like wall-to-wall windows. This is good because we can now make the nature enjoy first just insulation for there was a short window. Technology is good when it becomes invisible. As a wall is completely transparent, you can dissolve in the nature. Metrification is envisaged that after the French Revolution, everyone was trying to shift the meter kilograms. But units like foot, pounds, inches are much intuitive. Meet every culture connected with the body of the human being or from the daily life. The modern efficient logic is returned to the natural methods when the force is done. The same is the place in the information. The book or paper that are old is valuable. New books or scientific papers are mostly noise. Come into the height, but the time filters whether the real value is. So follow the lender effect. The longer the old thing is, the conferences and new research papers have a mostly time vest. Just the classic time-tested things keep real value. It is also more beneficial to talk to Americans who read the subjects from the profession, not from the gossip of professional academics. If you have to serve something in the future, then there should be strength. Antifragile should not occur. The things that are fragile, such as large companies, over-optimized systems, such technologies that are just running on the latest fashion or that are just based on the scientific method without all this time of the old wizard will be broken. The things that are small like city-states, small companies, local artisans tend to be much as they have flexibility and can lead to a large hobby survey. Nation, state, central box, economics, departments will keep all this nominally but their power will be reduced. The work of the right prophet does not tell the future instead of giving people a warning. Alert on things that are variable and tell what to do. Don't have a real job of profit. Protect all trades. Avoiding wrong things and relying on filtering of time. The mask does not like everyone. Often people ignore. They are also punished. This pattern is everywhere. People do not learn from their mistakes. The new idea does not get value until it passes the time test. A story is the dog of Andacalius. Dog always sleeps on the same tile as her the natural match is from that tile. He has been there again in history. Similarly, what's going on for a long time in human technology is deeply constable with human nature. Whether it is written, read, or learn new skills, the real value is just going to know the time when people perform e-readers and books or compile a new technology, an old thing, not from the opinion. If a thing or habit is illogical, useless forever to the time, there is a deep logical value that is out of understanding. That's why he is serving. There is no proof of benefit from any matter if there is natural, but there is an artificial or new thing, and must be proof that it is beneficial. Let us know this. The same is in medicine. Only intervene when the benefit exceeds the risk. Just like life-saving surgery or necessary medicine like penicillin, things with a little bit of comfort or unnecessary providers can all be denser as there may be a lot of heart here. Dosage is important in everything. Some things may worsen in lesser doses. When it comes to evidence, the non-neural things have a burden of proof that it is beneficial. No nature pay, and if there is no proof of the heart of something, it does not mean that it is safe. This is the logical spread. There is always no more indispensation of medicine and life. So stay on the safe side. The medicine in history made people mislead because his success appeared in front of everyone, but his mistakes were buried in the literary graveyard. People who die from treatment do not miss them. Just heard the story of escaped people go. That's why the passage of the intervention came. Why do not always do anything? As in 1940-50, children were given radiation for tonsillitis, birthmarks, or ringworm. But later it turned out that 7% of people had cancers 20 years after the radiation. Slightly natural radiation is essential because we have an antifragile for it, but an excessive or unnatural exposure is dancers. The sun is the same. Perhaps the industry has started making profits for sun protection products. While we so meet from the off-ears to the sun, adjust. Phenomenology means that experiences or those that are visible in the bearing reality are more powerful than the thirst. And the same should make the policy. As a conditional, Jim was telling that he had a low-carb diet, tried to hear insulin 9, and then lost weight. While the first he did not take the Billy, just took action as soon as you hear the. But the truth is that the syllabus changes, but the ridge is Hain. People give different psychotropic expressions to create muscles. Sometimes metabolism, sometimes insulin sensitivity, sometimes micro-tearing. Will come some more theory tomorrow, but the use of moles or weightlifting will remain the same. Whether the explanation is anything, people get more impressions when they hear brain and neurotype theory. As a secret link has been found, there are so many complexes in the personal that there are more feints. Just listen to the psychic sounds. Traditional medicine had 3 approach. The second, skeptical therapists with a rationalist theory that ignore the thyroid. Just look, he is focusing on the same. Third, Methodists, practical rules, simple heuristics, without much thinning. It was always stressed in 3. I put myself in the line of the errorist. Don't know what to do. The racist of the old time called the IDD no unless he found any of them in the situation past. Do not stick to the analogy, but do not stick to the 3. One who repeatedly said that the doctor struck him down when Hadrian died. Monting also reported that the doctor does not take any pleasure in the health of his friend. Sulzer does not even have fun and peace because they work only if there's a problem. So I say that the syllabus of biology does not need to penetrate much. Just look at the direct effect. Because nature has its own logic and thirst is always temporal. Fats that are the craze of fat-free have also come from the wrong interpretation of scent. The link to the salt and blood pressure is also mostly wrong. He does not affect everyone, just a few people. Even the use of mathematics in medicine sometimes bad result gives. Doctors either focus on things, ignore anon, or misuse the states. Robust decision-making means we don't know all. Deleting smoking is the largest medical infusion of the last 60 years. A doctor said that the loss of smoking is as high as all the modern medicine found good things. That is, it is more powerful to remove things. Happiness is also negative concept. Overcoming happiness is instantaneous removal. Everything you need to know if they are undoubted, remove those things. Old people also said that it is a very best treatment for less food, fasting, rest and happiness. Many digestion can be cured from the caloric restriction or fasting, such as diabetes. We've seen that many people remove unnatural food products such as sugar, milk, sodas, vitamin pills, health benefits. Most people also become unnecessary depends on the head medicine. While they should find the real reason. I own the same fruits account which were in the Anthanite Mediterranean, and drinks are also the same drinks that have been tested for thousands of years. Just water, wine, coffee, orange juice, or soft drink, all avo. Everything that is said to be healthy is really unhealthy. The biggest role in personal health improvement, I believe, is to remove unwanted events. Newspaper boss, daily commute, air conditioning, TV, gym machines, emails, etc. Money can also be hydrogenic. More money, more comfort, brings more rewards. While the construction worker is happy to eat his simple bread, there was also a comfort negative thing for the Romans and the Arabs. Power, if you are in the right way. There is a healthy stressor for the body and mind is a role of civilization. But remove things like subtractive approach can improve life. Remove no sunscreen, no sunglasses, no soft drinks, no pills, no elevators. Health will come. Real wealth is grinful, sleep, great tud, muscle strength, laughter, simple food, little work, no gym. All of this are subtractive iotropins. The release also works similarly. He has a large hidden role, limiting the intervention bias to the doctor on every minor illness. Do not run. Rest by visiting the temple or the church. Time the nature in mild cases. Many people saw that the doctor killed. Apollo saved. I follow religious fasting myself. The Greek Orthodox is sometimes watched according to the calendar, sometimes carnivore without any modern level. I believe that being a strictly in the PO or Wigan camps is a rationalistic mistake. The role of resilience is to reduce the hydrogenics of the antisettlement bulvana and abundance. Our body has a very large role of randomness, especially regularity in food, or every fixing the thing in a way can harm the aquatic. And sometimes irregularity, i.e. skipping or fastening miles in the middle beach, it works like medicine. This is the practical ridge of the genesis incality that sometimes random things are best and study things can be bad. Human beings are omnivores because in our environment there was always different types of food and invaluable at different times. The eating pattern of animals such as a cow or lion is different. Cow eats salad daily, but lion has to be hungry all day long and then get a lot of protein together. This is why our body is also adapted to randomness, i.e. protein, carbs, fat not all need to balance every miles. Rather, sometimes less. This cycle is also healthy. Fasting or depression is a stressor that makes the body an antifungal, as exercise makes body strong. As I do the fasting of the Orthodox lot myself, where there are several days no animal products sweets allowed, and sometimes there is no olive oil, so the body swells the depression, and then when a fasting breaks, food and feels good and foliage like euphoria. Science is now telling that it's good for the body to be a little hungry or sometimes eating food groups. When you don't get food, the body starts the autophagy process, breaks your own old proteins, creates new cells. It works like vacuum cleaner effects and can also increase lobability, beneficial for fasting or episodic discharge body. It's the same thing that reconciliates the releases and changes the random nutrients intake to the body. Suits biology. Nowadays people ignore walking, but effortless stress-free walking is as important as sleep. Our ancestors always walk. Overfocus of the power walk or gym is wrong before the carts. The perfect natural movement is best for the body. Modern people just want to live longer, but for the heroes of the Old Testament was worse than the death. The first people used to secure their group future generations or knowledge books, but today all of them are in the world. I also think it sounds strange some people want immortality. 200 pills accounts. But he says that the system's antifragility occurs only if the individual is frizzy. That is to die at a time so that new people came, new ideas came. My philosophy is that unnecessary things remove, be natural. Bring randomness to food, do regular fasting, walk through simple movements, and make all of this you become healthy, happy, and antifragile. We are alive so that there is nothing left for the information or the next generation. Just lengthen your life artificially. Everything in today's world people put their risk on others and the law does not hold them. There are a lot of things that do not come out, like the loss of medicine or any system of the hidden risk that makes sense with time. This problem is the real skin in the game. This means that you have to raise the risk for yourself. This is very old. Just as we have the code of rabbi, if someone damages the other, it must suffer. But nowadays people have forgotten this simple rule. Biggest issue is when an advantage takes a human and loss anyone and it happens. This agency is a problem in which the asymmetry occurs. Taking a party benefit, taking a second party risk. In the first societies, the most important thing was to put their lives on the risk of others. Being a hero means not just war or riot, but for the well-being of another. As an any dies to protect the child or is considered to be the top of the soldier or the saint or any man who commits to the society of man. That makes the society strong. Nowadays people who are in power, bankers, politicians, large corporate people, take it upside for themselves. The downside put on the public. It's not real heroism, it's opposite. And those who take risk for others do sacrifice. The true strength of the society is the same, but sacrifice means not to take the risk of thinking. Courage also means control your impulse. The first heroism was just physical courage. Then the idea also became standing for, as Socrates in Jesus who was ready to die for his true. Real hero is the same which pays some price. Keeps your life, your comfort, your favor, your risk for the sake of others. Today's middle class values is just safe job, boss listening, stock market, safe Sabron life. It's all heroism free and doesn't have real honor. In the modern society there are many people who do not take the risk. Just see your advantage and say hero to yourself. But who raises the risk in real, does the sacrifice, in the same there is real greatness. Whether it's a public stump or not found, irradiation or knowledge is only valuable when have taken some risk for him. Real dignity comes when humans stand on their value. Whether it hurts, the person who does not risk for himself is not the opinion or the utter of any work. The vision of this problem was near our source, where Robbie's code if the builder made and fell home, someone knows, the builder will also get the same punishment, meaning that he took the risk will also suffer his result. Hidden in safe zone. It was because people work carefully. Do not hide your mistakes and do not harm anyone else. The most dangerous risk the same that hides, as the foundation hides the fault whose losses are subsequently revealed. We had understood this. My friend's Fat Tony has two simple rules. The pilot should never climb the pilot and have a backup without being in the plane, meaning that the Rick was designed or given advice should take his own risk. The man of his family who voted the war should also be sent to the war. Engineers should spend time under their built bridge. Economist, journalist, or analyst to have some lore on their opinion must be. The forecaster himself should also take some bets on that forecast. In today's systems, people are practicing, doing things, but keep themselves safe, whether others suffer. This is the resurrection that the pure talkers who speak just should be at the bottom of the society and above all the risk seekers. But today's system has been reversed. Only those who speak are getting status and those who take the risk are seen below. The power of the information in today's deposit has become higher. Impact of the speakers too big, and people are putting effects on society without doing anything or risk. The first deposit had to take the risk of power. As the king, general first went to the battle and picked up the risk. Even when failing, the risk was taken. Today's system has shifted the risk in the hand of the Tories, and he hides his fault. Others lose their lives. The second problem is the post-dictators who later say after the event I had already said or manipulate my past statements so that he is smart. These people just pick up sherry, hide your mistakes in the history and take advantage. Loss is all. There were also a famous Arab poet Al-Mu'tana. His grandchild was so overwhelming that people had magical effects. But his biggest thing was that he believed in his grandson. He died because he had lost a trib in his poem. Yet they faced instead of the escape of fear and died, meaning they kept their talk above life. Bankers were made personally responsible for their wrong work in old deposits, as we are in the law of Rabbi or in the rules of mafia or in some country. Meaning real justice is the same where the risk and rewards are balanced and the human beings give their bid or the real price of work themselves. As long as the system doesn't get the soul in the game, all the fakes will go. Whether there is a manager or a grandchild or an activist, real free man is the one that has its own opinion as per the Greeks. There is control over your time which is not stuck in any force. Is real freedom according to Fat Tony when you can't press any. You can't force to do something. Not only money or status is free from humans. There should be debt inside it. Face-to-face shyness or shame finish in a large state or nesty. So everything has become an anonymity and unethical. People will public serve as a handicap that they cannot earn when one layer of a private sector so that only the people who live at a public office. The best test to be alive is whether you feel good changes. Food without appetite is useless. Without sadness no value of happiness. The result of unsurprisingness is useless. Those who want to live will have to take the risk. Ethical life is also useless without personal risk. So much for today. We will then find you with a new book in a new episode. Thank you.